Hello, friends again. We're back again. How does this view look? This is my first time really doing this. This is at we're in the like the theater view. I have it zoomed out a little. I can zoom it back in. I don't know. What do you guys think? You guys tell me. Thank you all for being here. For those of you that are here, I know there's a shite ton and a half of people that are streaming right now. Um, I wish I had alcohol. Listen, it hurts. I just ran to Walmart real quick to get their oak leaf Cabernet, which is a cheap, cheap, cheap wine. It's $7.48 plus tax for the 1.5 liter bottle, and that's what I have. So I have myself a nice big glass of wine. We have popcorn, because we are, because this is gonna be interesting. Okay, it's gonna be so interesting. Do we have to actually listen? I mean, I could probably keep it turned down pretty low. The captions are on. I don't know. What do you guys think will be better? That's what I want to know. I also need to make sure that this is working. So let's unmute it just real quick.
Upended just weeks ago, President Biden.
Okay, yeah, it is working. So what I can do, I could keep it low
Candidates separated by the smallest of margins, essentially,
so that we have a little sound, so it's not like dead quiet when I'm like,
including right here in Pennsylvania.
what I could do. I don't know. What do you guys think? We have subtitles on. Can you guys read the subtitles? You can see it okay? I don't care about the page. I just want to look at you. Oh, thanks, GRP. Sound, says CJ. Sound! Okay, I'll turn it back on. When it starts, though. When it starts. We don't need to hear these people yapping. I turned on the live stream link, and Chris Christie was yapping, and I was like, oh my God, shut up. Why are you still relevant? Who are you? Why? Anyway, we're here. Jonathan Stevie is here. Corey is here. Hertz is here. GRP is here with the compliments. CJ is here. Barrix is here. Usually it's better if you're louder than the stream. Oh, we can do that. These, I hope that these captions are better. A lot of times the captions are like, the poor guy's typing so fast. He's trying to keep up with Trump, especially who talks so fast. Yeah, I'll probably turn it on just super low. Well, not super low, but pretty low. How's that? Is that too loud?
Against President Donald Trump in June. Since then,
here? I think this should be good, right?
And that brings us to the rules of tonight's debate. 90 minutes with 2 commercial breaks. No topics.
90 minutes, 2 commercial breaks.
Campaigns. The candidates will have 2 minutes to answer questions, and this is the clock.
Is that too loud? I think that should be okay, yeah.
And 1 minute for
2 minutes to answer. Oh, so the rules are the same.
Their microphones will
there you go, CJ. There's your answers.
No pre-written notes allowed.
90 minutes.
There is no
2 minutes to answer questions.
At the National Constitution
2 commercial breaks.
This is an intimate setting for 2 candidates.
Which is when everybody will be doing tequila shots.
President Trump won the
This is my first time doing this, so if there's anybody that struggles in here, I don't know. This may get taken down. I have no idea.
So let's now
no idea. I didn't put any crazy hashtags or anything because I didn't want like YouTube to really flag me. Oh, here we go. Look at them. Are they going to shake hands? Oh.
Let's have a good debate.
Have fun.
Thank you.
Welcome to you both. It's wonderful to have you. It's an honor to have you both here tonight.
Good evening. We are looking.
Oh, here we go. Who do you think will call her a DA? What?
I want to begin.
Hi, Tyler. This is going to be a long night. It's only an hour and a half, guys. We got this. It's fine.
The economy and the cost of living in this country. Vice President Harris, you and President Trump were elected 4 years ago, and your opponent.
Okay, how's the volume?
Often asks his supporters, "Are you better off than you were 4 years ago?" When it comes to the economy, do you believe Americans are better off than they were 4 years ago?
So I was raised as a middle-class kid, and I am actually the only person on this stage who has a plan that is about lifting up the middle class and working people of America.
What is the plan?
The ambition, the
Hi, John 42.
welcome.
Welcome.
The American people, and that is why I imagine and have actually a plan.
I love how she doesn't answer the question. It's not just her.
Because here's the thing. We know that we have a shortage of homes and housing, and the cost of housing is too expensive for far too many people. We know that young families need support to raise their children, and I intend on extending a tax cut for those families of $6,000,
just a
which
tad.
is the largest child tax credit that we have given in a long time.
Is that too loud?
So that
Oh, let's go
those
back
young
down a
families
little bit.
can
How's
afford
that?
to buy a crib.
Is that okay? I don't want to go too loud because I don't want it to be like obvious. You know what I mean? I want to be louder than the
One of them
street.
is small businesses. My mother raised my sister and me, but there was a woman who helped raise us. We call her our second mother. She was a small business owner. I love our small businesses.
Look
My
at
plan
Trump's
is
like,
to
oh my
give a
God, answer the question.
$50,000 tax deduction to start
Empty answer,
small
yeah.
businesses, knowing they are part of the backbone of America's economy. My opponent, on the other hand, his plan is to do what he has done before, which is to provide a tax cut for billionaires and big corporations, which will result in $5 trillion to America's deficit. My opponent has a plan that I call the Trump's sales tax, which would be a 20% tax on everyday goods that you rely on to get through the month. Economists have said that Trump sales tax would actually result for middle-class families in about $4,000 more a year because of his policies and his ideas about what should be the backs of
Watching you and
middle-class
Return of the King at
people
the same time.
paying
Nice.
for tax cuts for billionaires.
President Trump, I'll give you 2 minutes.
But here's the thing about
First
the
of
$5
all, I
trillion.
have
Like,
no
how much money have we
sales
given
tax.
to
That's an incorrect
Ukraine?
statement. She knows that. We're doing tariffs on other countries. Other countries are going to finally, after 75 years, pay us back for all that we've done for
Do you
the
guys
world.
hear it okay? I know it's low.
And the tariff will be substantial in some cases. I took in billions and billions of dollars, as you know, from China. In fact, they never took the tariff off because there was so much money they can't. It would totally destroy everything that they've set out to do. They're taking in billions of dollars from China and other places. They've left the tariffs
25%
on.
of a trillion?
When I had it,
Damn.
I had tariffs, and yet I had no inflation. Look, we've had a terrible economy because inflation which is really known as a country buster. It breaks up countries. We have inflation.
How long is the debate? Oh, it's only been like 5 minutes.
Seen before. Probably
She just
the
spoke.
worst in our nation's history.
Everybody gets 2 minutes.
We were
So
at 21%, but that's being generous because many things are 50, 60, 70.
I wonder if anybody's going to ask her,
than they were just a few
like,
years
why
ago.
she didn't do any of this
has
stuff over
been
the
a
last 4
disaster
years.
for people, for the middle class, but
That's
for
what
every
I
class.
would be asking.
On top
Like,
of that,
that's my
we have
question.
millions of people pouring into our country from prisons and jails, from mental institutions and insane
Haiti.
asylums, and they're coming in and they're taking jobs that are occupied right now by
Hi, Agricola.
African Americans and Hispanics.
Hi,
And
Jedi
also
Juggernaut, 'cause
unions.
she's awful.
Unions are
Yeah.
going to be affected very soon. And you see what's happening. You see what's happening with towns throughout the United States. You look at Springfield, Ohio. You look at Aurora in Colorado. They are taking over the towns. They're taking over buildings. They're going in violently. These are the people that she and Biden led into
Probably
our
not
country.
ABC is for
and
her.
they're destroying
ABC.
our country. They're dangerous.
Mm.
They're at the highest
Oh, ABC
level
News.
of
Got it.
criminality, and we have to get them out. We have to get them out fast. I created one of the greatest economies in the history of our country. I'll do it again and even better.
We are going to get to immigration and border security during this debate, but I would like to let Vice President Harris respond on the economy here.
Well, I would love to. Let's talk about what Donald Trump left us. Donald Trump left us the worst unemployment since the Great Depression. Donald Trump left us
Because of the
worst
beer
public
bug,
health
which y'all, oh
epidemic
my
in
Lord.
a century. Donald Trump left us the worst attack on our
Don't get banned on
democracy
Twitch, Jedi Juggernaut.
since the Civil War. And what we have done is clean up Donald Trump's mess. What we have done and what I intend to do is build on what we know are the aspirations and the hopes of the
I love how
American
he
people. But I'm
listens.
gonna tell you,
He's
on this
always
debate
done that.
tonight,
A little
you're
head
gonna
tilt.
hear from the same old tired playbook, a bunch of lies, grievances, and name-calling. What you're going to hear tonight is a detailed and dangerous plan called Project 2025 that the former president intends on implementing if he were elected again.
Yeah, they closed their states down. Like, you all voted for that. That's why the economy was so bad, or why unemployment was so high. Can we please have context?
We have so much more in common
Oh my
than what
Lord, Jesus,
separates
take the
us,
wheel.
and I
You know what
pledge
y'all
to
need to be
you
watching this
be a
with? What's that,
president for all
Tyron? Carnivore
Americans.
Chris.
President Trump will give you a minute here to
As
respond.
I'm eating.
Number one, I have nothing to do, as you know, and as she knows better than anyone, I have nothing to do with Project 2025. That's out there. I haven't read it. I don't want to read it purposely. I'm not going to read it. This was a group of people that got together. They came up with some ideas. I guess
She's
some
so
good,
mad.
some
Look at her
bad,
shaking.
But it makes no difference. I have nothing to do. Everybody knows I'm an open book.
So glad I
Everybody
got the
knows
big
what I'm
bottle of
gonna do.
wine.
Cut taxes very substantially and create
Hey,
a
Lone
great
Star.
economy like I did before. We had the greatest economy. We got hit with a pandemic.
She's pre-name calling
And the
him. Yeah.
pandemic was not since
Yep.
1917. where
She's,
100
you can
million
see her.
people
She's
died.
shaking
Has there
already.
been
Ma'am,
anything
it's been
like
5
it? We did a
minutes.
phenomenal
Relax,
job with
it's
the
okay.
pandemic. We handed them over a country where the economy and where the stock market was higher than it was before the pandemic came in. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. We made ventilators for the entire world. We got gowns, we got masks, we did things that nobody thought possible. And people give me credit for rebuilding the military. They give me credit for a lot of things, but not enough credit for the great job we did with the pandemic. But the only jobs they got were bounce back jobs. These were jobs bounced back, and it bounced back and it went to their benefit. But I was the one that created them. They know it, and so does everybody else.
Vice President Harris, I'll let you respond.
So Donald Trump has no plan for you. And when you look at his economic plan, it's all
Who is she
about
talking
tax
to?
breaks for the richest people. I am offering what I describe as an opportunity.
Kamala needs a
economy,
drink. She's having a
and the
problem.
best
I
economists
mean,
in our
listen,
country, if not
I
the
can't judge her
world,
too much
have
because
reviewed
I
our
was up there. I'd be
relative
like,
plans for the
I'd be
future
so
of
nervous.
America. What Goldman Sachs has said is that Donald Trump's plan would make the economy worse. Mine would strengthen the economy. What the Wharton School has said is Donald Trump's plan would actually explode the deficit.
I feel like she does need a
16
water, though.
Nobel
She's like,
laureates have described his economic plan as something that would increase inflation, and by the middle of next year,
I mean, of course, Goldman Sachs would say that because if the economy for the lower little people booms, that means the rich people are going to be struggling.
And I'd invite you to know
Of course.
that Donald Trump actually has no plan for you because he is
Full
more
disclosure for those
interested
of you
in
watching,
defending
by the way, if I have
himself
any lurkers
than he is
around,
in
I am
looking
not
out for you.
knowledgeable on politics. I'm just a girly girl watching the
I
drama.
went to the Wharton School of Finance, and many of those professors, the top professors, think my plan is a brilliant plan. It's a great plan. It's a plan that's going to bring up our
Look at her,
our
she's
worth,
so
our
upset.
value as a country. It's going to make
Calm
people
down.
want to be able to go and work and
Is she okay?
create jobs and create a lot of.
If her plan
good,
is going to work, why hasn't it been put in
solid
place yet?
for our country.
That's my.
And just
Somebody
to
please
finish up,
ask the question. I know they
she
usually
doesn't
do.
have a plan.
I'm
She
trying not to talk
copied
like super
Biden's
loud
plan,
so you guys can
and
still hear
it's
what's going
like
on.
4 sentences. Like
I know they
run,
usually
spot,
do
run.
like
4
citizen questions
sentences
at the
that are
end.
just,
Like they have
we'll try
their
and lower
journalism
taxes.
questions, and then
She
a
doesn't
lot
have
of
a
the
plan.
times
Take a
they
look at her
have at
plan.
the end
She
like
doesn't have
citizen
a plan.
questions.
Mr.
I don't
President, I do
know
want to drill down
if
on
they're doing
something
that
you
this
both
time,
brought
but
up. The Vice President brought up your tariffs. You responded, and let's drill down on this because
here we go.
plan is what she calls is essentially a national sales tax. Your proposal calls for tariffs, as you pointed out here, on foreign imports across the board. You recently said that you might double your plan, imposing tariffs up to 20% on goods coming into this country. As you know, many economists say that with tariffs at that level, costs are then passed on to the consumer. Vice President Harris has
She's so
argued that we need
nasal.
higher prices on gas,
find her nasal.
food, clothing, medication.
Been in
arguing it
office for
costs the
that's my
typical
thing.
family
Like,
nearly
where was all these
$4,000
ideas
a
4
year.
years ago?
Do you
I'll give you
believe
3.5
Americans
years
can
ago
afford
if you were
higher prices
scared,
because
you
of
know, for
tariffs?
the
They're gonna
January
have higher
6th or whatever.
prices. What's going to have and who's going to have higher prices is China and all of the countries that have been ripping us off for years.
It's a closed studio
I
with no
charge- I
people.
was the
She
only
requested no
president
people?
ever. China was paying us
What?
hundreds of
There's nobody
billions
else in
of
there?
dollars, and so were other
That's
countries.
unusual.
And you know, if she doesn't like
But the
them,
citizen
they
questions
should
are
have
usually
gone out
written
and they should
in.
have
They're not,
immediately cut the
I mean,
tariffs. But those
sometimes
tariffs
they
are
do
there
like
3.5
questions like
years
from the
now
audience,
under
but
their
a lot of times they're written
administration.
in.
We
I don't
had
know if
to
they did
take
that
in
this time.
Billions of dollars, hundreds of billions of
She's in
dollars.
that piece.
I had no inflation, virtually no inflation. They had the highest inflation perhaps in the history of our country because I've never seen a worse period of time. People can't go out and buy cereal.
She is so,
or
look at her,
bacon
she's
or
losing it.
eggs or
Ma'am,
anything
it's been
else.
10 minutes.
The
Calm,
people
breathe,
of our
girl,
country
breathe.
are absolutely dying with what they've done. They've destroyed the economy.
I think this is
And
agreed
all you
to
have
by
do is
Biden.
look
The
at the
debate,
poll.
you mean?
The
Yeah, how is
polls
she
say
can't back out.
80
I mean, she
and
could,
85
but
and even 90% that the Trump economy was great, that their economy was terrible.
why didn't
President Harris, I
Biden?
do
Yeah,
want to
why
ask
didn't
for your
Obama
response to
too?
what the
What was that,
president said there,
2008?
Because the Biden administration did keep a number of the
When
Trump
the
tariffs
first
in place. So how do you
crash
respond?
happened?
Well, let's be clear that the Trump administration resulted in a trade deficit, one of the highest we've ever seen in the history of America. He invited trade wars. You want to talk about his deal with China? What he ended up doing is under Donald Trump's presidency, he ended up selling American chips to China to help them improve and modernize their military, basically sold us out. when a policy about
Says the
China should
administration
be
who
in
gave the
making
Middle
sure
East
the United States of
guns?
America wins
Pew
the
pews?
competition for the 21st century.
Didn't
which
that
means
happen under
focusing
them?
on the
I'm pretty sure it did.
details of what that requires, focusing on relationships with our allies, focusing on investing in
Why would you
American-based
shake your head when he brings up
technology
the polls?
so that
She's
we
so
win
mad.
the race on AI, on quantum computing, focusing on what we need to do to support America's workforce so that we don't end up having on the short end of the stick in terms of workers' rights. But what Donald Trump did, let's talk about this, with COVID, is he actually thanked President Xi for what he did during COVID. Look at his tweet. Thank you, President Xi, exclamation point, when we know that Xi was responsible for lacking and not giving us transparency about the origins
Oh, so
of COVID.
now you blame
First of all,
China.
they bought the chips
Interesting.
from Taiwan. We hardly make chips anymore because of
This is true. This is true.
philosophies like they have and policies.
So I
like
used to work for the
they
police
have.
department
I don't
in
say her because
Vegas
she
in their
has no
fleet
policy.
department, which is the
Everything
cars.
that she believed
And
3 years ago
all of
and
our,
4
fun
years
fact,
ago
all of the
is out
chips come
window.
from China
She's going to my
or Japan, like
philosophy
over
now. In
there.
fact, I was gonna
And
send her a MAGA hat.
cars are being
She's gone
delayed
to
by
my
years
philosophy, but
manufacturing because
if
we
she ever
can't
got
get them
elected, she'd change
because
it.
of the backlog
And
of the
it
beer
will
bug.
be
Like
the
that's a
end of
real
our
thing.
country.
I've dealt with that
She's
the
a
last
Marxist.
3.5
Everybody knows
years
she's a
or so
Marxist. Her
because the beer
father's a
bug when everything
Marxist
started opening.
professor in economics,
You
and
have if
he
you bring
taught
your
her well.
car
But when you
to
look
a
at what
body
she's
shop
done
or
to our
a
country,
dealer,
and
they're
when you look at these
little screws
millions
can't
and
get them,
millions of
chips
people
can't
that
get them, the
are
new
pouring into
cars
our
can't get
country
them. Like
monthly,
that's why everybody's on a
whereas
wait
I
list for all
believe
these cars.
21
It's
million
wild,
people, not the 15
wild.
that people say.
So
And I
he's
think
right.
it's a
He's
lot higher
correct.
than the 21.
He's
That's bigger
100%
than
correct,
New
and I
York
worked with
State.
it, so I
Go
know it
ahead.
firsthand.
Just look at what they're doing to our country. They're criminals. Many of these people coming in are
Debates
criminals.
me more
And
entertaining with
that's
audience
bad
and
for
tomatoes.
our
Normally there
economy,
is an
too. You
audience.
mentioned before, we'll talk about immigration
Weird.
later. Well, bad immigration is the worst thing that can happen to
Hi,
our
Eric.
economy. They have.
It's
and she
okay. Thank you for
has
being here. Hit the
destroyed
like, though.
Our country with
Thanks.
policy that's insane. Almost policy that you'd say.
He was being
you have to
sarcastic,
hate
yeah.
our country.
President Trump, thank you. Lindsay?
I want to turn to the issue of abortion. President
Who's-
Trump, you've often touted
who was
that you were
that?
able to kill Roe v. Wade. Last year, you said that you were proud to be the most pro-life president in American history. Then last month, you said that your administration would be great for women and their reproductive rights. In your home state of Florida, you surprised many with regard to your 6-week abortion ban because you initially had said that it was too short. And you said, quote, I'm going to be voting that we need more than 6 weeks. But then the very next day, you reversed course and said you would vote to support the 6-week ban. Vice President Harris says that women shouldn't trust you on the issue of abortion because you've changed your position so many times.
She's pretty.
Therefore, why should
Who
they
is that?
trust you?
Well, the reason I'm doing that vote is because the plan is, as you know, the vote is, they have abortion in the
She's been
ninth month.
coached.
They even have, and you can look at the governor of West Virginia, the
Don't get
previous
banned in the
governor of
chat.
West Virginia,
Careful
not
on
the
your
current
words.
governor, who's
But
doing
I
an
see you,
excellent
Eric.
job. But the governor before.
Surprisingly, how
he said
fluently she
the
speaks
baby
without
will
any
be
cackling.
born,
I
and
know,
we
this
will
is very
decide
out of
what to do
character.
with
I
the
thought for
baby.
sure
In other
she'd be
words,
like,
they'll execute the baby. And that's why I did
Whatever it
that,
is she
because
does.
that predominates, because they're radical. The Democrats are radical in that. And her vice presidential pick, which I think was a horrible pick, by the way, for our
Her
country.
face. Look at-
'cause
she's
he is
so
really
mad.
out of it. But her vice presidential pick
she
says
okay?
abortion in the 9th month is absolutely fine. He also says
That is true.
execution after birth. It's execution, no longer abortion, because the baby is born, is okay. And that's not okay with me, hence the vote. But what I did is something.
He changed his mind about
for
one issue. Stop the presses.
52
And he
years,
didn't
they've been
really.
trying to get Roe
He
v. Wade
he also just
into
added
the
like
states.
grape.
And
He thinks that there should be a
through
few exceptions, like incest,
genius
grape,
and-
like that
and
kind of thing. And
heart
like
and
that's where the
strength
line is walked, right?
of
You're never going to
6
have,
Supreme
especially a
Court
political
justices,
candidate, 100% be
we were
like,
able
nah,
to do that.
that's
Now,
what the
I believe
states
in
are for.
exceptions for rape, incest, and life of the mother. I believe strongly in it. Ronald Reagan did also.
Walt signed the Roe v. Wade
85% of
bill?
Republicans do.
Or the one he's talking about?
Exceptions, very important. But we were able to get it, and now states are voting on it. And for the first time, you're going to see, look, this is an issue that's torn our country apart for 52 years. Every legal scholar, every Democrat, every Republican, liberal, conservative, they all wanted this issue to be brought back to the states where the people.
Oh, he
could
signed
vote.
the bill that
And
allowed
that's
up to
what
9 months.
happened. Now, Ohio, the vote was somewhat liberal. Kansas, the vote was somewhat liberal, much more liberal than people would have thought. But each individual state is
I've seen a lot of
voting. It's the
Christians
vote
like
of the people now.
borderline
It's not
turn on
tied
him
up in
because
the
he was
federal
like, oh, there
government.
should
I
be
did a great
exceptions, like in the
service
life
in
of the
doing it. I
mother,
took
which
courage to
I
do it.
agree
And
with.
the Supreme Court had
Like
great courage
the
in
mom
doing it.
is very
And I give
important.
tremendous
Like you don't
credit
want to
to
take the
those
mom out of the
6
family.
justices.
Hello.
There is no
Um,
state in this country where it is legal to
That
kill a
saves
baby
one life.
after it's
You know what I
born.
mean?
Madam
Can
Vice
always have more
President, I wanna get your
kids,
response to
mostly.
President Trump.
And then he
Well,
was
as I
talking about
said,
like
you're
again
very
like
much
incest and
alive,
rape and all that.
that's
But
not actually a surprising fact. Let's understand how we got here. Donald Trump hand-selected
Gonna
3
need
members
more
of the
wine
United
already.
States Supreme Court with the intention that they would undo the protections of Roe v. Wade. And they did exactly as he intended.
Somebody
And
get the
now in
poor
over
girl
20
water.
states,
Is she
there
okay?
are Trump
She's not
abortion
okay.
bans, which make it criminal for a doctor or nurse to provide health care. In one state, it provides prison for life. Trump abortion bans that make no exception even for rape and incest, which understand what that means. A survivor of a crime of violation to their body does not
It's
have
up
the
to the
right to make a
state.
decision
Go
about
to a
what
different
happens to their
state.
body next.
Oh my
That
gosh.
is immoral. And one does not have to abandon their faith or deeply held beliefs to agree. The government, and Donald Trump certainly, should not be telling a woman what to do with her body. I have talked with women around our country. You want to talk about this is what people wanted? Pregnant women who want to carry a pregnancy to term, suffering from a miscarriage, being denied care in an emergency
That is
room because
not
the
what
healthcare
happened.
providers
No,
are
that's
afraid they
fake.
might
That's
go to
fake.
jail, and she's bleeding out in a car in the parking lot.
That's
She
not
didn't want
true.
that. Her husband didn't want that. A 12
Oh my
or
God, she's so
13-year-old
dumb.
survivor of incest being forced to carry a pregnancy to term. They don't want that. And I pledge to you, when Congress passes a bill to put back in place the protections of Roe v. Wade, as President of the United States, I will proudly sign it into law. But understand, if Donald Trump were to be reelected, he will sign
Come
the
on,
national
Trump.
abortion ban.
Talk about how
Understand,
that's
in his
not- none of that
Project
is true.
2025, there would be a national abortion, a monitor that would be monitoring your pregnancies, your miscarriages. I think the American people believe that certain freedoms, in particular the freedom to make decisions about one's own body,
Most of the abortion
should
bans
not
have
be
those
made by
exceptions.
the government.
Exactly, Corey.
Thank you,
Exactly.
Vice
And
President Harris.
Well, there she
there's a
goes
difference
again.
between
It's a
miscarriage
lie.
and abortion.
I'm not signing a ban, and there's no reason to sign a ban because we've gotten what everybody wanted. Democrats, Republicans, and everybody else, and every legal scholar wanted it to be brought back into the states. And the states are voting, and it may take a little time. But for 52 years, this issue has torn our country apart. And they've wanted it back in the states. And I did
Straw man.
something
You've
that
gone around the
nobody thought
country,
was
but not the
possible.
border.
The states are now voting. What she says is an absolute lie. And
It
as
is a
far as the
lie.
abortion ban, no, I'm not in favor of abortion ban, but it doesn't matter because this issue has now been taken over by the
Yep.
states.
Would you veto a national abortion ban if it came
Well, I
to your
won't
desk?
have to because, again, two things. Number one, she said she'll go back to Congress. She'll never get the vote. It's impossible for her to get the vote, especially now with the 50-50 and essentially 50-50 in both Senate and the House. She's not going to get the vote. She can't get the vote. She won't even come close to it. So it's just talk. You know what it reminds me of when they said they're going to get student loans terminated, and
Oh,
it ended
yeah.
up being a total catastrophe. The student loans, and then her, I think probably her boss.
a straw man. It is
if
a
you
straw
call him
man
a
because
boss, he
it's not
spends all his
true.
time on the beach. But look, her boss went out and said, we'll do it again. We'll do it a different way. And he went out, got rejected again by the Supreme Court. So all these students got taunted with this whole thing about this whole idea. And how unfair that would have been, part of the reason they lost, to the millions and millions of people that had to pay off their student loans. They didn't get it for free. But they were saying it's the same way that they talked about that they talk about abortion.
But if
When
I could
she's
just
talk-
get a yes or no, because your running mate, J.D. Vance, has said that you would veto it if it did come to your desk.
Well, I didn't discuss it with J.D. In all fairness, J.D. And I don't mind if he has a certain view, but I think he was speaking for me, but I really didn't. Look, we don't have to discuss it because she'd never be able to get it.
It's up
just
to the
like she couldn't
states.
get
It doesn't
student loans. They
matter.
couldn't get
That's the
student
whole
loans. They didn't
point.
even come close to getting student loans. They
And if you
taunted
want to get
young
one, then you can
people
go to
and a lot of other
California
people
or
that
New
had
York
loans.
or
They could
I think
never get this
Arizona.
approved.
Nevada.
doesn't matter what she says
You know what
about
I mean?
going to
Like, you
Congress. So
can
wonderful.
go
Let's go to
places. It's
Congress,
not
do
like
it.
you don't have
But the
the
fact is that
option.
for years they wanted to get
And
it out of
miscarriages are not the
Congress
same
and out of the
thing.
federal government, and we did
A
something
DNC,
that everybody
DNC
said couldn't be done.
is
And
not,
now
is it
you have a
DNC?
vote of the
I don't know the
people on
scientific term
abortion.
for it. It's not the
Vice
same
President
thing.
Harris, want to give you your time
It's
to
the health
respond,
of the
but I do wanna
mother,
ask,
which is
would
an
you support
exception.
any
That's the
restrictions on a
point.
woman's right to an abortion?
I
Oh my God,
absolutely
this
support
idiot. She's
reinstating
so
the
dumb.
protections of Roe v. Wade. And as you rightly mentioned, nowhere in America is a woman carrying a pregnancy to term and asking for an abortion. That is not happening. It's insulting.
That is happening.
to the
It's
women
not
of
common,
America.
but it's
And
happening.
understand what has been happening
Oh my
under
God.
Donald Trump's abortion
There was
ban.
literally a doctor,
Couples
Dr.
who
Gorel.
crave
There's a movie about it with Dean Cain,
and
Dr.
dream
Gorel.
of having a
15 years
family
ago, before this
are
was
being
even a huge
denied
thing, he was
IVF
doing that.
treatments.
He was cutting
What
their
is happening in our
necks.
country?
Go look it up.
Working
It's
people,
awful.
working women who are working 1 or 2 jobs, who can barely afford childcare as it is, have
Use
to
a
travel
condom.
to another state to get on a plane sitting
Oh
next
my
to
God.
strangers.
All right, I'm not gonna yell. It's
To
fine.
go and get the health care she needs. Barely can afford to do it, and what you are putting her through is unconscionable.
Student loan forgiveness, hi Sean, is a
And
wealth
the
transfer
people
from the
of
working class to the
America
upper middle
have
class.
not-
Also, it
the
gives
majority
colleges the
of
incentive to raise
Americans
tuition.
believe in a woman's right to make decisions about her own body, and that is why in every state where this issue has been on the ballot, in red and blue states both, the people of America have voted for freedom.
Vice President Harris,
Excuse me, I
thank
have
you.
to respond. Another lie.
Go ahead, Trump.
It's another lie. I have been a leader on IVF, which is fertilization. The IVF, I have been a leader. In fact, when they got a very negative decision on IVF from the Alabama courts,
I'm like chopping on my
and so the people
mom.
of Alabama and the legislature 2 days later voted it in. I've been a leader on it. They know that, and everybody else knows it. I have been a leader on fertilization, IVF. And the other thing, you should ask, will she allow abortion in the 8th month, 9th month, 7th month?
Come on.
Okay, would you do that? Why don't you ask her that
Why
question?
don't you
That's
answer
the
the
problem.
question, would you
Because
veto?
under Roe v. Wade,
Answer the question,
you
would you
could,
veto?
you could do abortions in the 7th month, the 8th month, the 9th
That's
month,
not true.
and probably after birth. Just look at the governor, former governor of Virginia. The governor of Virginia said, we put the baby aside, and then we
John,
determine
I
what
see
we
you,
want to
John.
do with the baby.
President Trump, thank you.
I
We're
saw
gonna
your
turn
comment.
now
I was
to
like, what if he's going to
immigration
bring it
and
up?
Border security. We know it's an issue that's important to Republicans, Democrats, voters across the board in
Wear
this
a
country. Vice
condom.
President Harris, you were
Go
tasked
on
by
birth
President
control.
Biden
Maybe
with
don't
getting to
sleep
the
with
root causes
people.
of
Like, as a
migration from
general
Central
rule.
America. We know that
Until
illegal
you're
border
ready
crossings reached
to
a
be like,
record
yes,
high
this
in
is
the
the
Biden
one. This is the
administration. This
person
past
that I
June,
would like to have
President
children
Biden imposed
with.
tough
Like,
new
why are
asylum
we women
restrictions.
not
We
taking
know the
responsibility
numbers
for
since then
this?
have dropped
What the heck?
significantly. But my question to you tonight is, why did the administration wait
That's why I
until
don't watch
6
these.
months
I
before
get
the
stressed
election
out.
to act?
It's already been 30
and would you
minutes.
have done anything
See, just look
differently
at
from
this.
President Biden on this?
Got him.
So I'm the only person on this stage who has prosecuted transnational criminal organizations for the trafficking of guns, drugs, and human beings.
Yes, and they were
And let
all
me
of
say
what race,
that
ma'am?
The United
Exactly.
States Congress, including some of the most conservative members of the United States Senate, came up with a border security bill, which I supported. And that bill.
Some pro-life
would
people
put
don't like IVF
1,500
because it
more
fertilizes
border
multiple eggs.
agents
Yes,
on the
because
border
those
to
eggs
help
then
those
die.
folks who are working there right now overtime trying to do their job.
I get the lie. I get it.
It would have
I get both
allowed
sides of it.
us to stem the flow of fentanyl coming into the United States. I know there are so many families watching tonight who have been personally affected by the surge of fentanyl in our country.
Like George Floyd?
That bill would have put more resources to allow us
Weird.
to prosecute transnational
Gonna
criminal
get
organizations
demonetized for that one. I'm not even monetized, but I'm taken down for that one.
that bill, Donald Trump got on the phone, called up some folks in Congress and said, kill the bill. And you know why? Because he'd prefer to run on a problem instead of fixing a problem. And understand, this
Ma'am,
comes at
fentanyl
a
is still a number
time
one, not
where
number
the
one, but
people
one of the
our
highest deaths in
country
America.
actually
What did you
need a
do?
leader
Nothing.
who engages in solutions, who actually addresses the problems at hand.
You have a house
But
full of
what we
rubbers.
have
Listen,
in the
I am
former
dumb.
president is someone
Okay.
who would prefer to run on a problem instead of fixing a problem. And I'll tell you something, he's going to talk about immigration.
I was on birth control since I was 12 or 13.
And I'm going
In
to actually
between
do
there.
something really unusual, and I'm going to invite you to attend
And I
one
still
of Donald
use
Trump's rallies.
the rubbers.
It's a
I
really
still use
interesting
them.
thing to watch.
Can't
You
trust
will
these
see
hoes.
During the course of his rallies, he talks about fictional characters like Hannibal
About the drugs in the
Lecter.
country in the first place.
He will
Ooh,
talk
I know.
about windmills cause cancer. And what you will also notice is that
They don't
people
cause
start
cancer, but they're
leaving
killing
his
whales.
rallies early out of exhaustion and boredom. And I will tell you, the
What?
one thing you will not hear him talk about is you. You will not hear him talk about your needs, your dreams, and your desires. And I'll tell you, I believe you deserve a president who actually puts you first, and I pledge to you that I will.
Vice President
That's
Harris,
not
thank
the
you. President
point of
Trump,
a
on that point, I wanna get your
presidency.
Well, I would
response.
like to respond.
Women
Also,
and our
why you've been
feelings. I
trying to kill
can't.
that bill, and successfully so. That would have put thousands of additional
I'm
agents
begging
and
Joe
officers
Biden to
on
run
board.
again.
First, let me respond as to the rallies.
I'm begging for Joe
She
to
said
run.
People start leaving. People don't go to her rallies. There's no reason to go. And the people that do go, she's bussing them in and paying them to be there and then showing them in a different light. So she can't talk about that. People don't leave my rallies. We have the biggest rallies, the most incredible rallies in the history of politics.
That's actually true.
That's because
I've
people
not
wanna
seen a
take
video of
their
anybody
country
leaving
back.
rallies, but I
Our
have seen several
country is
videos of
being
people leaving
lost.
her
We're a
rallies.
failing nation, and it happened 3.5
Vegas was a big
years
one.
ago,
Was it Vegas?
and
I think it was
what's
Vegas.
going on here, you're going to end up in World War III, just to go into another subject. What they have done to our country by allowing these millions and
Focus, Don.
millions of people to come into our country,
Focus.
and look at what's happening to the towns all over the United
They
States.
won't let
A
Joe
lot
run.
of
I
towns
know,
don't
but
wanna
I'd
talk.
rather
There's
have
gonna be a
Joe
war in
at this
Springfield.
point.
A lot of
God.
towns don't want to talk about it because they're so embarrassed by it.
Women. This is
In
why women
Springfield,
shouldn't be running
they're
anything. We're a
eating the
mess.
dogs, the people that came in, they're eating the cats. They're eating.
Look at her. She doesn't believe her own people. I'm here for you. This is great. I'm here for you. I'm going to be for you. I'm going to represent you as president. She literally just said that. And she's laughing. She's laughing at him bringing up this stuff, which is coming from the citizens that she just promised not a minute ago. I'm going to be on your side. I'm going to be for you. I'm going to root for you. I'm going to be a president that's on your whatever. She just said that a minute ago, and she's laughing. She's
I just wanna
laughing.
clarify here. You bring up Springfield, Ohio, and
She's
ABC News did
laughing.
reach out to the city manager there. He told us there have been no credible reports of specific claims of pets being harmed, injured,
Of course
or
he
abused by
did.
individuals
Colorado
within
governor
the
did the same
immigrant
thing, and the
community.
mayor was like, F that,
Just
it's
saying here,
happening.
this is
The people on television say
clear.
my dog was taken and used for food. So maybe he said that, and maybe that's a good
Yeah.
thing to say for a city manager.
I'm not taking this from
But the
television.
people
I'm
on
taking it from
television
the city
saying
manager.
their dog was eaten by the people that went there.
Again, the Springfield city manager says
And
there's
she's
no evidence of that.
laughing.
Vice President Harris, I'll let you
She
respond to the
just
rest of
said,
it.
I'm going to listen to you. I'm here for the people. Ugh.
You know,
And she's laughing.
This is, I think, one of the reasons why in this election I actually have the endorsement of 200 Republicans who have formerly worked with President Bush, Mitt
You mean
Romney,
rhinos?
and John
Oh, Bush was
McCain,
also a rhino, so
including
thank you
the
for that name
endorsement
drop.
of
There's been a
former
lot of people
Vice
that were on the
President
fence
Dick
that heard
Cheney
you
and
drop Bush's name. They're like,
Liz Cheney.
nope.
And if you want to really
War
know
criminal.
the inside
Anyway.
track on who the former president is,
I don't know what
if
to
he
believe.
didn't
It
make
sounds like they
clear
aren't eating the
already,
pets and
just
birds,
ask
but they're
people who
still
have
a huge
worked
problem.
with him. His former
I live
chief
here in
of staff,
Ohio,
a
says Tyler. They're
four-star
doing it.
general,
No,
has
Kamala's
said he has
laughing at you,
contempt for the
Tyler.
Constitution of
No.
the United
Your
States.
city manager says it's not
His
happening.
former national security advisor has said he is dangerous and unfit. His former Secretary of Defense.
It's not
has said the
happening.
nation,
Just like the
the
Colorado
Republic,
shit's
would
not
never
happening.
survive
Even though the governor or the mayor came out and said the governor was lying.
term.
It's like, yeah, it's happening.
And when we listen to this kind of
They may not be
rhetoric,
going after pets, but
when
you
the
guarantee they're
issues
going
that
after
affect
strays.
the
That's a
American
thing in
people
Haiti.
are
Ask
not being
Jay.
addressed,
Jay used to live in
I
Haiti.
think the choice is clear in this election.
President Trump will give you a quick
I'm
minute
sure
to
he's got
respond.
stories. He's told me a couple.
Thank you, because when I hear
They're
about-
desperate over there. There's
See, I'm a
nothing else
different
to
kind
do.
of a
There's no
person.
food.
I fired most of those.
They don't
people.
know any better. It's not their
so
fault
graciously. They did
necessarily.
bad things or a bad job. I fired them. They never fired one person.
I'm just saying.
They didn't fire anybody having to do with Afghanistan and the
400 million,
Taliban
but
and the
200 to the
13
reps. Yeah.
people
Rhinos.
who's
And
who
Bush.
just killed viciously and violently killed, and I got to know the parents.
I like
and the
President
family.
Bush as like a
They didn't
personality.
fire-
I
they
think
should
he's
have
quirky
fired
and
all
funny.
those generals,
But
all those top people,
the stuff
because
that's
that
come
was
out
one of the
about
most
him, man.
incompetently handled
Anyway.
situations anybody has ever seen. So when somebody does a bad job, I fire
Neocons
him.
been switching the
And you
Democratic
take a
Party
guy
since
like
2014.
Esper, he was no good. I fired him, so he writes a book. Another one writes a book because with me they can write books. With nobody else can they? But they have done such a poor job, and they never fire anybody. Look at the economy. Look at the inflation. They didn't fire any of their economists. They have the
Yep.
same people. That's a
No!
good way not to have books written about you. But just to finish, I got more votes than any Republican in history by far. In fact, I got more votes than any sitting president in history by far.
Let me continue on immigration. It was what you wanted to talk about earlier, so let's get back to your deportation
Duke was watching the debate at work. He just texted me, "Are you watching the debate?" Cheney said they would invade Iraq again if they had to do it over again. Listen, at the time,
you say you would use the National Guard. You say if things get out of control, you'd have no problem using
how do I say
the
this not
US
getting in trouble?
military.
At the time, it was what we needed, and that's obviously what happened. As the years have gone on, a lot have come out, just like with Pearl Harbor. And I, just like with Pearl Harbor, here's a fun conspiracy theory. I am a believer that the government knew about it.
It is much higher.
And chose to maybe not stop it because of whatever reason.
They allowed terrorists. They allowed common.
That's all I'm gonna say about that. That's all I'm gonna say about that.
To come in, drug dealers to come into our country, and they're now in the United States and told by their countries like Venezuela, don't ever come back or we're going to kill you. Do you know that crime in Venezuela and crime in countries all over the world is way down? You know why? Because they've taken their criminals off the street and they've given them to her to put into our country. And this will be one of the greatest mistakes in history for them to allow. And I think they probably did it because they think they're going to get votes. But it's not worth
Kamala just laughed.
Because they're
I'm here for you. I'm here for the people. And she's laughing.
What they've done.
All right, it's fine.
There's never been anything done like this at all. They've destroyed.
Patient went to a pet store, bought a cat, and then put it. I don't want to.
Millions of people let in, and all over the world. Crime is
yeah, I saw that, Tyler.
I
saw that post.
Except here, crime here is up and through the roof, despite
come watch me, Gina.
Please. That they made. Crime
screenshot it at least.
Through the roof, and we have a new form of crime. It's called migrant crime, and it's happening at levels that nobody thought possible.
President Trump,
look at her; she's rolling her eyes. I'm here for you, the people. As president, I believe you. No, you don't. You're laughing.
They were defrauding statements. They didn't include the worst cities.
I'm so glad I bought the biggest bottle of wine I could find.
Crime. It was a fraud, just like their number of 818,000 jobs that they said they created turned out to be a fraud.
President Trump, thank you. I'll let you respond, Vice President Harris.
Well, I think this is so rich, coming from someone who has been prosecuted for national security crimes, economic crimes, election interference, has been liable for sexual assault, and his next big court appearance is in November at his own criminal sentencing. And let's be clear, where each person stands on the issue of what is important.
Why do all politicians do? What is this?
And respect for law enforcement. The former vice president called for defunding.
America does not send their best to other countries.
45,000 agents. Get this.
American tourists are horrible. I will agree with you on that for sure.
Felony counts. So let's talk about what is important in this race. It is important that we move forward, that we turn the page on this same old tired rhetoric and address the needs of the American people, address what we need to do about the housing shortage, which I have a plan for, address what we must do to support our small businesses, address bringing down the price of groceries.
Dude, everything in stores is locked up, Kamala. Focus, please.
Vice President Harris, thank you.
Excuse me. Every one of those cases was started by them against their political opponent. And I'm winning most of them, and I will win the rest on appeal. And you saw that with the decision that came down just recently from the Supreme Court. I'm winning most of them. But those are cases, it's called weaponization. Never happened in this country. They weaponized the Justice Department. Every one of those cases was involved with the DOJ, from Atlanta and Fani Willis to the Attorney General of New York and the DA in New York. Every one of those cases. And then they say, oh, he's a criminal. They're the ones that made them go after me. By the way, Joe Biden was found essentially guilty on the documents case. And what happened in my documents case? They said, oh, that's the toughest of them all. A complete and total victory. 2 months ago, it was thrown out.
Yep.
It's weaponization, and they used it, and it's never happened in this country. They used it to try and win an election. They're fake cases.
President Trump,
yes.
A really quick response here, Vice President Harris, on this notion of weaponization of the Justice Department.
Well, let's talk about extreme and understand the context in which this election in 2024 is taking place. The United States Supreme Court recently ruled that the former president would essentially be immune from any misconduct if he were to enter the White House again.
Including your
Understand,
your
this is
daddy,
someone who has
Biden.
openly
Including
said
Daddy
he
Biden.
would
So don't even throw
terminate,
him under the
I'm
bus.
quoting,
That's why...
terminate the Constitution of the United States, that he would weaponize the
What?
Department of Justice against his political enemies. Someone who has openly expressed disdain for members of our military. Understand what it would mean if Donald Trump were back in the White House
When?
with no guardrails. Because certainly we know now the court won't stop him. We know J.D. Vance is not going to stop him. It's up to the American people.
Vice President
stop
Harris,
him.
thank you. Lindsay?
Vice President Harris, in your last run for president.
This is the one that weaponized, not me. She weaponized. I probably took a bullet to the head
Go.
because of the things
Trump's
that
like,
they
no,
say
no, no,
about
you're not
me.
going to cut me
They
off.
talk
F
about
off.
Democracy. I'm a threat to democracy. They're the threat to democracy
President
with a fake
Trump.
Russia investigation
We do have a lot to
that
get.
went nowhere.
We have a lot to get to.
I don't
Lindsay?
care. Y'all keep
President
giving
Harris,
her
in
the
your
advantage.
last
Shut
run for
up.
President, you said you wanted to ban fracking. Now you don't. You wanted mandatory government buyback programs for assault weapons. Now your campaign says you don't. You supported decriminalizing border crossings. Now you're taking a harder line. I know you say that your values have not changed. So then why have so many of your policy positions changed?
Oh, damn. This
So
girl's like,
my
anyway,
values
you're a
have not
bitch.
changed, and I'm going to discuss at least every point that you've made. But in particular, let's talk about fracking because we're here in Pennsylvania. I made that very clear in 2020. I will not ban fracking. I have not banned fracking as Vice President of the United States. And in fact, I was the
You haven't done anything as Vice
vote
President of
on
the United
Inflation
States.
Reduction Act, which opened new leases for fracking. My position is that we have got to invest in diverse sources of energy so we reduce our reliance on foreign
Watch
oil.
your face, Donald.
We have
I see you.
had the largest
Watch your
increase in domestic oil production.
She is
in
very
history
rattled. She is
because of an
very
approach
shaken
that
right now.
recognizes
For
that
whatever
we
reason.
cannot over-rely on foreign oil. As it relates to my values, let me tell you, I grew up a middle-class kid raised by a hardworking mother.
Biden called our
worked and
soldiers
saved
stupid.
and was
Exactly,
able to buy
Tyler.
our
Trump has
first
never
home
done that.
when
What
I
is
was
she
a
talking
teenager.
about?
The values
I
bring
don't. Whatever
to the
side you're on, like that,
those
literally
homeowners
has
knowing not
never
everybody
happened.
got
Where is she? What is she talking about?
$400 million on a silver platter and then filed bankruptcy 6 times is a value that I bring to my work to say we are going to work with the private sector and home builders to increase 3 million homes, increase by 3 million homes by the end of my first term. My work that is related to having a friend when I was in high school who was sexually assaulted by her stepfather.
My dad's like,
And my
what is he
focus then
talking about?
on protecting women and children from violent crime is based on a value that is deeply grounded in the importance of standing up for those who are most vulnerable. My work
exactly,
that is
Sean. I
about
see you, Sean.
protecting
Exactly.
Social Security and Medicare is based
Jonathan
on
says this is why
longstanding work that I have
You
done,
should have pushed for
protecting
Fox
seniors
because
from
she can't debate in a
scams.
hostile environment.
My
She can't lead.
values have not
She can barely debate in a
changed.
non-hostile
And what
environment.
is important is that
That
there is a
woman just
president
challenged
who
her, and
brings
kudos to her.
values and
She
a
brings up like
perspective that is
you're
about
contradictory here and
lifting
here, and
people
she's
up
rattled.
and not beating people down.
And that's a woman on
and
your side.
name-calling. The true measure of the
saying.
leader is the leader who actually understands the strength is not in beating people
is
down, it's
this?
in lifting people up.
You ain't
I
an
intend to
Italian?
be
Come
that
on.
president.
President Trump, your
Well, first of
response?
all, I wasn't given $400 million. I wish I was. My father was a Brooklyn builder, Brooklyn, Queens, and a great father.
Why
I
do
learned a lot
people
from him,
not
but I was given a
remember that
fraction
he
of
never
a
took
tiny
any money
fraction,
for being
and I built
president?
it
I don't
into
understand.
many, many billions of dollars.
Why
Many,
is this so
many
hard for people to
billions.
remember?
And when people see it, they are even surprised. So we don't have to talk about that. Fracking, she's been against it for 12 years. Defund the police, she's been against that forever. She gave all that stuff up very wrongly, very
She's like, that's not
horribly.
true.
And
Yes, it
everybody's
is.
laughing at it, okay? They're all laughing
It's
at
fine.
it. She
Just
gave
own
up
your
at
shit.
least 12 and probably 14 or 15 different policies. Like, she was big on defund the police. In Minnesota, she went out. Wait a minute, I'm talking now. If you don't mind, please. Does that sound familiar? She went out in Minnesota and wanted to let criminals that killed people, that burned down Minneapolis, she went out and raised money to get them out of jail. She did things that nobody would ever think of. Now she wants to do transgender operations on illegal aliens that are in prison. This is a radical left liberal that would do this. She wants to confiscate your guns, and she will never allow fracking in Pennsylvania. if she won the election, fracking in Pennsylvania will end on day one. Just to finish one thing so important, in my opinion. So I got the oil business going like nobody has ever done before. When they took over, they got rid of it, started getting rid of it, and the prices were going up.
We need a commercial break. I'm running out of wine.
They immediately let these guys go to where they were. I would have been 5 times, 4 times, 5 times higher, because you're talking about 3.5 years ago. They got it up to where I was because they had no choice, because the prices of energy were quadrupling and doubling. You saw what happened to gasoline. So they said, let's go back to Trump. But if she won the election, the day after that election, they'll go back to destroying our country, and oil will be dead, fossil fuel will be dead. We'll go back to windmills, and we'll go back to solar, where they need a whole desert to get some energy to come out.
Thank you.
By the way, I'm a big fan of solar, but they take 400, 500 acres of desert
President
soil.
Trump, we have a
These
lot
are
of
not good
issues
things
that we
for the
have to get
environment
to.
that she
We're out of time.
understands.
Thank you.
Lindsay, thank you.
It's true. I live in Vegas.
And I want to talk about the peaceful.
There's literally an entire, I don't know how many acres it is, full of freaking solar panels from Vegas to California.
In a moment of crisis. Mr. President, on January 6th,
No idea what power is.
to march to the Capitol. You said you would be right there with them. The country and the world saw what played out at the Capitol that day.
Here we go.
Officers coming under attack. Aides in the West Wing say you watched it unfold on television.
What about the woman that was shot and killed?
You did send out
Joe,
tweets, but it was more than
Bob,
2
whatever your
hours
name
before
is.
You sent out that video message telling your supporters to go home. Is there anything you regret about what you did on that day?
You just said a thing that isn't covered. Peacefully and patriotically, I said during my speech, not later on. Peacefully and patriotically. And nobody on the other side was killed. Ashley Babbitt was shot by an out-of-control police officer that should have never, ever shot her. It's a disgrace. But we didn't do this group of people that have been treated so badly. I ask, what about all the people that are pouring into our country and killing people that she allowed to pour in? She was the border czar. Remember that. She was.
What happened on May 29, Jonathan?
Be called the border czar because
is that when the Roe v. Wade people stormed the Capitol?
Oh, I'm surprised you're not talking about the border yet. That's because she knows what a bad job they've done. What about those people? When are they going to be prosecuted? When are these people from countries all over the world, not just South America? They're coming in from all over the world, David, all over the world. And
David, that's his name.
Down all over the world because of it.
Like Bob, whatever her name is.
When are those people going to be prosecuted? When are the people that burned down Minneapolis going to be prosecuted?
Thank you.
Seattle. They went into Seattle.
Seattle, Minneapolis, D.C.
The city of Seattle. When are those people going to be prosecuted?
Thank you.
But let me just ask you.
You might ask her that question.
You were the president. You were watching it unfold on television.
You might ask
It's a very
her.
simple question as we move forward toward another election. Is there anything you regret about what you did?
No, he didn't do anything.
I had nothing to do with that other than they asked me to make a speech. I showed up for a speech. I said, I think it's going to be big. I went to Nancy Pelosi and the mayor of Washington, D.C. And
that's your answer, David. You deserve ew, David. Ew, ew, David.
Very big rally or whatever you want to call it. And again, it wasn't done by me. It was done by others.
Oh, oh my gosh.
I'd like to give you 10,000.
I forgot about that, Jonathan. I'm not going to lie. I forgot about that.
They rejected me. Nancy Pelosi rejected me. It was just 2 weeks ago. Her daughter has a tape of her saying she is fully responsible for what happened. They want to get rid of that tape. It would have never happened if Nancy Pelosi and the mayor of Washington did their jobs. I wasn't responsible for security. Nancy Pelosi was responsible. She didn't do her job.
The question
and don't forget Trump.
About former Speaker Pelosi, but I do want Vice President Harris to respond here.
Oh my God, this guy is a soup sandwich.
I was at the Capitol on January 6th. I was the vice
here we go.
president-elect. I was also an acting senator. I was there. And on that day, the President of the United States incited a violent mob.
No, he didn't.
Our nation's capital.
He did not.
To desecrate our nation's capital. On that day, 140 law enforcement officers were injured, and some died. And
not because of any injuries they received at the Capitol.
Has been indicted and impeached for exactly that reason. But this is not an isolated situation.
Yes,
Let's
it is.
Remember Charlottesville.
What?
Where there was a mob of people carrying tiki torches.
Oh, hi, CJ. There you are. How many times do you have to say no?
Anti-Semitic hate. And what did the president then... at
He's
the
not
time
giving them the
say
soundbite they want, which
fine
is,
people
no, I
on
don't
each
regret
side.
it. Because I didn't
Let's
do
remember
anything, which he didn't do anything. The
when it came
freaking
to the
cops
Proud
let them
Boys
in.
militia,
What about all the videos of the cops opening the
president said-
barricades?
former
Hello?
president said, stand back and stand by. So for everyone watching who remembers what January 6th was, I say we don't have to go back. Let's
Oh my
not go
God.
back. We're not going back. It's time to turn the page.
Y'all,
And if
she's
that
gonna
was a
win.
bridge too
She's gonna
far
win.
For you, well, there is a place in our
I
campaign
can hear
for
my
you to
girlfriends.
stand
I can hear them.
for country, to stand for
gonna
our
win.
democracy, to stand for rule of law.
Jonathan
end
says
the
stat is a lie to
chaos.
try to put
And to
cops that had
end
heart
the
aches days
approach
later in
that
the
is
yeah.
about attacking the foundations of our democracy.
And those are suspicious
'cause you
deaths, in
don't
my
like the
opinion. Like,
outcome.
you're a police
And be
officer.
clear on
You may
that
be like a
point.
glorified
Donald
security
Trump,
guard
the
now,
candidate,
but
has
you were a
said in
cop
this
at one
election
point.
there will be a bloodbath if this and the outcome of this election is not to his liking. Let's turn the page on this. Let's not go back. Let's chart a course for the future and not go backwards to the past.
Oh my God,
just
she
follow
just
up
called
here.
it. She
Was
just
a
called it.
different
And not
term, and it was
because
a
Trump
term
lost, but
that
because it was
related to
freaking
energy,
faked
because they've
again.
destroyed
Oh
our
my God,
energy
she just
business.
called
That
it.
was
She
where
just said
bloodbath
it.
was.
There it is.
Also, on Charlottesville, that story has been, as you would say, debunked. Laura Ingraham,
Yep.
Sean Hannity, Jesse, all of these people, they covered it. If they go an extra sentence, they will see it was perfect.
He said
It was
stand down.
debunked
Yeah,
in almost
exactly.
every newspaper.
What a
but they
goober.
still
I know.
bring
She
it up,
can't
just
read.
like they bring
She's like,
2025 up.
if
They bring all
Beardo
this
was a
stuff up.
girl.
I ask you this, you talk about
She
the
can't read.
Capitol. Why are we allowing these millions of people
It's all
to come
buzzwords,
through
yep.
the southern border? How come she's not doing anything? And I'll tell you what I would do, and I would be very proud to do it. I would say we would both leave this debate right now. I'd like to see her go down
My blood is boiling.
to
Relax,
Washington,
Tyler. It's
D.C.
fine.
during this debate because we're wasting a lot of time. Go down to, because she's been so bad, it's so ridiculous.
I've been
Go
telling my
down
dad
to
for months, like,
Washington,
she's gonna win.
D.C., and
The
let
amount of
her
women I
sign
know
a
that are
bill
like,
to close
"Oh."
up the border.
I saw
Because
an
they have the
older,
right to do it.
super
They don't
overweight
need
woman
bills.
today
They
that
have the
is
right
probably
to
a
be the
boomer,
president
like on
of the
that boomer
United States. You'll
cusp
get 'em out
age
of
range,
bed, you'll wake
wearing
'em
a
up at 4
Harris.
o'clock
Like,
in
she
the
had like the
afternoon. You say, "Come on,
90s. It was
come on down to the
all her
office, let's sign
face.
a bill."
Like a
If he
90s portrait
signs a bill
t-shirt
the
that we used to
border
do
is closed, all he has
of
to do is
Kamala.
say it
And I
to
was
the
like,
Border Patrol, who are
yep.
phenomenal.
Because they're so obsessed
If
with
they
having
do
a
that,
woman.
The border is closed.
That's the
Those
whole reason.
people are killing many people. Unlike
The Dems knew what they were
We
doing when
talked
they brought her in to be president. They knew what they were doing.
Next issue to both of you, because it really brings us this into focus: truth in these times that we're living in. Mr. President, for 3.5 years after you lost the 2020 election, you repeatedly falsely claimed that you won, many times saying you won in a landslide. In the past couple of weeks leading up to this debate, you have said, quote, you lost by a whisker, that you, quote, didn't quite make it, that you came up a little bit short. Are you now acknowledging that you lost in 2020?
No, I don't acknowledge that at all.
But
I
you
said
did
that
say that.
sarcastically.
But
You know
those-
that. It was said, oh, we lost by a whisker. That was said sarcastically. Look, there's so much proof. All you have to do is look at it. And they should have sent it back to the legislatures for approval. I got almost 75 million votes, the most votes any sitting president has ever gotten. I was told if I got 63,
Wrestling
which was
101
what I got in
buzzwords?
2016,
Yeah.
you can't be beaten. The election, people should never be thinking about an election as fraudulent. We need two things. We need walls, and we have to have it. We have to have borders, and we have to have good elections. Our elections are bad. And a lot of these illegal immigrants coming in, they're trying to get them to vote. They can't even speak English. They don't even know what country they're in practically. And these people are
It's
trying
true.
to get them to vote.
And it's not
that's
just
why
like
they're
people like, oh, they
allowing
can't
them
speak
to come
English,
into
make
our
fun of
country.
Mexicans. It's not just
All of
Mexicans.
these pieces of video.
It's not just
didn't
the
detect
South.
the sarcasm.
Haiti.
Lost by a whisker. We didn't
They
quite make
speak
it.
Creole.
And we
Who
should
speaks
just point out
Creole?
for
Nobody.
clarification, and you know this. You and your allies, 60 cases in front of many judges, many of them
No
Republican.
judge looked at it.
And said
They
there was
said
no
we didn't have
widespread fraud.
standing. That's the other thing. They said we didn't have standing, a technicality. Can you imagine a system where a person in an election doesn't have standing? The president of the United States doesn't have standing. That's how we
He
lost.
just went.
If you look at the facts, and I'd love to have you'll do a special on it. I'll show you Georgia, and I'll show you Wisconsin, and I'll show
Georgia.
you Pennsylvania, and I'll show you. We have so many facts.
His New
and
York accent
statistics.
is so
But you know
unique.
what?
It's
That
wild.
doesn't matter because we have to solve the problem that we have right now. That's old news. And the problem that we have right now is we have a nation in decline, and they have put it into decline. We have a nation that is dying, David.
Mr. President, thank you. Vice President Harris, you heard the president there tonight. He said he didn't say that he lost by a whisker. So he still believes he did not lose the election that was won by President Biden and yourself. But I do want to ask you about something that's come up in the last couple of days. This was a post from President Trump about this upcoming election just weeks away. He said, when I win, those people who cheated, and then he lists donors, voters, election officials, he says will be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law, which will include long-term prison sentences. One of your campaign's top lawyers responded saying, we won't let Donald Trump intimidate us. We won't let him suppress the vote. Is that what you believe he's trying to do here?
Donald Trump was fired by 81 million people.
So
let's be clear about that. And clearly he is having a very difficult time processing that. But we cannot afford to have a president of the United States who attempts, as he did in the past, to upend the will of the voters in a free and fair election. And I'm going to tell you that I have traveled the world as Vice President of the United States, and world leaders are laughing at Donald Trump. I have talked with military leaders, some of whom worked with you, and they say you're a disgrace. And
I'm sure they
when you
do.
then talk in this way in a presidential debate and deny what over and over again are court cases you have lost because you did, in fact, lose that election.
Do y'all know that Kamala, Agricola says, do y'all know that Kamala also put corn pop in his place back then? She gave him a, oh my God. Sean says Brazil can count like 120 million votes by 10 p.m. on election day, but for some reason our country takes much longer. Yeah, it took what, a month for everything total?
Let me just tell you about world leaders. Viktor Orban, one of the most respected men, they call him a strong man. He's a tough person.
That's the longest tallying vote count in my lifetime
they said,
that I can remember.
The whole world blowing up 3
That's
years ago.
wild to me.
Why is it blowing up? He said, because you need Trump back as president.
Well, they're not going to tell her to her face. Like, this is the vice president. Oh, yeah, no, we're totally laughing at Trump. You know what I mean? Like,
China was afraid of him. North Korea,
especially the military, they're technically that, like, she's technically their boss. You know, they'd be like going to the CEO of your company and be like, "You suck." They're not going to do that.
Biden put it back on day one, but he ended the XL pipeline, the XL pipeline in our country. He ended that, but he let the Russians build a pipeline going all over Europe and heading into Germany, the biggest pipeline in the world. Look, Viktor Orban said it. He said the most respected,
he said, she said,
feared person
hardest cases to prosecute in a court, as he said, she said.
When Trump was president, but when this weak, pathetic man that you saw at a debate just a few months ago, that if he weren't in that debate, he'd be running instead of her. She got no votes. He got 14 million votes. What you did, you talk about a threat to democracy. He got 14 million votes, and they threw him out of office. And you know what? I'll give you a little secret. He hates her. He can't stand her. But he got 14 million votes. They threw him out. She got 0 votes. And
she did. She got 0 votes.
She was the first one to leave because she failed. And now she's running. I don't understand it, but I'm okay with it because
your time is
I think
up.
we're going to do very well.
We've got a lot more to get to.
Turning now to the Israel-Hamas war and the hostages who are still being held, Americans among them. Vice President Harris, in December, you said, quote, Israel has a right to defend itself, but you added, quote, it matters how, saying international humanitarian law must be respected. Israel must do more to protect innocent civilians. You said that 9 months ago. Now an estimated 40,000 Palestinians are dead. Nearly 100 hostages remain. Just last week, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said there's not a deal in the making.
It looks for me because the toy with the symbols chiming away.
How would you do it?
Well, let's understand how we got here. On October 7, Hamas, a terrorist organization.
Oh my God, she acknowledged it. I'll give her kudos. Well done.
1,200 Israelis. Many of them young people who were simply attending a concert.
I give her props. She actually acknowledged that. Well done.
Raped. And so
good for you.
Absolutely, I said then, I say now, Israel has a right to defend itself. We would. And how it does so matters. Because it is also true, far too many innocent Palestinians have been killed. Children, mothers.
Hamas started
What
it.
we know is that this war must end. It must
Okay.
end immediately, and the way it will end is we need a ceasefire deal and we need the hostages out.
We don't need anything.
And
It's not
so
our
we will
problem.
continue to work around the clock on
I mean,
that.
get our people back, but
Work
it's not our
around the clock,
problem.
also understanding that we
Let them
must
fight.
chart a course for a two-state solution. And in that solution, there must be security for the Israeli people and Israel, and in equal measure for the Palestinians. But the one thing I will assure you always, I will always give Israel the ability to defend itself, in particular as it relates to Iran and any threat that Iran and its proxies pose to Israel. But we must have a two-state solution where we can rebuild Gaza, where the Palestinians have security, self-determination, and the dignity they so rightly deserve.
President
Is
Trump,
it Palestine that
how would you
doesn't exist, or is it
negotiate with
Pakistan?
Netanyahu
I always get
and
those mixed
also
up.
Hamas in order to get the hostages out and prevent the killing of more innocent civilians in Gaza?
If I were president, it would have never started. If I were president, Russia would have never, ever, I know Putin very well, he would have never, and there was no threat of it either, by the way, for 4 years, have gone
That's
into
fair.
Ukraine and killed millions of people when you add it up, far worse than people understand what's going on over there. But when she mentions about Israel, all of a sudden,
Swig said she says
hates
that, but
Israel.
supports
She
those who
wouldn't
love
even meet
Palestine and
with
terrorize. That's fair.
Netanyahu when he went to Congress.
Not
to
our
make a
problem.
very
It's probably the
important
best
speech.
position.
She
Oh,
refused to be there
it's not
'cause
our
she was
problem.
at
Get
a
our people
sorority
out,
party of
obviously.
hers. She
Like,
wanted
get
to
our
go to the
people out.
sorority party.
That's our
She
problem.
hates
But the
Israel.
war is not
If
our
she's
problem. They've been
president,
at
I
each other's
believe
throats for
that Israel
thousands
will
of
not
years.
exist
Same
within
with
2 years
Africa.
from
It's
now.
been
And I
at
can
its
pretty
own
good at
throat
predictions. I
for
hope I'm
hundreds
wrong
of
about
thousands
that
of
part.
years.
She hates Israel. At the same time, in
Bye.
her own way,
We're
she
not the
hates
police. We're not
Arab
the world's
population
policeman.
because the whole place is
I mean,
going
to be
get
fair,
blown
we
up.
had that same
Arabs,
opinion during World War II, and
Jewish
look what
people,
happened. So here we are. But
Israel will be gone. It would have never
we
happened.
got our people out.
Iran was broke under Donald Trump. Now Iran has $300 billion because they took off all the sanctions that I had. Iran had no money for Hamas or Hezbollah or any of the 28 different spheres of terror. And they are spheres of terror, horrible terror. They had no money. It was a big story, and you know it. You covered it very well, actually. They had no money for terror. They were broke. Now they're a rich nation, and now what they're doing is they're spreading that money around. Look at what's happening with the Houthis and Yemen.
And Cole said that
Look at
justified
what's going on in
slaughtering
the Middle
40,000
East.
civilians
This would
of
have
genocide.
never happened.
What are you talking
I
about?
will get that settled and fast.
You're talking
and
about
I'll
like
get the
Hamas and
war
stuff?
with Ukraine and Russia.
No, it doesn't
ended.
justify anything.
If I'm
That doesn't even gotta get
president-elect, I'll
involved.
get it done before even
I mean,
becoming
that's the
president.
line.
Vice President Harris, he says you hate Israel.
That's absolutely not true. I have my entire career and life supported Israel and the Israeli people. He knows that. He's trying to, again, divide.
I don't know about that,
and
Chief.
distract.
If you're
from the reality,
Indian,
which
I don't
is, it
know.
is
I mean,
very
I don't know.
well
I
known
honestly don't know.
that
I don't
Donald
know.
Trump is weak
That's
and
true.
wrong on national security and foreign policy. It is well known that he admires.
Yeah, Germany never paid
dictators,
anything
wants
back.
to be a dictator
Yeah.
on day one.
I mean, to be
according
fair, they were the bad
himself.
guys. So, like,
It
they
is
weren't
well
going to.
known that he
At
said
the
of
time.
Putin that he can do whatever the hell he wants and go into Ukraine. It is well known that he said when Russia went into Ukraine, it was brilliant. It is well known he exchanged love letters with Kim Jong-un.
Let's talk about the plane load of cash.
And it is absolutely well known that these dictators and autocrats are
We really
rooting
do. I mean, we do
for
need
you
to
to be
listen. Nobody
president
else
again
polices
because
the
they're
world.
so
You don't see
clear.
China
They
being like,
can
oh my God, they're treating
manipulate
people
you
terribly.
with flattery and
I don't know, pick a
favors.
country. In North
And that
Korea.
is why
China's not like, oh my God.
many
You really
military
shouldn't be
leaders
treating
who
people
you
like that,
have
North
worked
Korea.
with
Let me
have
step
told
in
me,
and
"You are a
smack you around a
disgrace."
little. You don't see them
That
going,
is
oh,
why
that's a bummer.
we
They're just like,
understand that we
North
have
Korea's
to have a
problem, not my
president
problem.
who is
You know
not
what?
consistently
I'm not saying it's
weak and
morally
wrong
right,
on
but
national
President
security,
Harris.
including the importance of upholding and respecting in highest
right.
regard our military.
Vice President Harris, thank you.
They're the ones, and she's the one.
Israel's
that caused it.
illegally
It's
occupying
weak
Palestine
on
for 80
national
years. They have
security
no
by
right to be there,
allowing
and
every
Israel was
nation
founded on the
last
basis they
month
recognize
for the year,
a Palestinian state
168
too.
different
So does that
countries
give Palestine the
sending
right then
people
to
into
blow
our
them up?
country. Their crime rates are way
I'm
down.
asking.
Putin
'Cause that's what
endorsed her
happened.
last week. Said, "I hope she wins," and I think he meant it.
I don't know.
Because
I don't
what he's
know.
gotten
I don't know
away
the
with
rules. I'm gonna
is
be. I don't know the
absolutely
laws. I'm gonna be honest
incredible.
with you.
It
I don't
wouldn't
know.
have happened with me.
But I
The
would think
leaders
that
of
that would
other
not
countries think
justify
that they're weak and
Hamas going in
incompetent,
there
and they
or
are.
whoever
They're
going in there and
grossly
be like, you know what?
incompetent,
We're mad. We want our lawn back. Me. And they blow up and kill a bunch of people. How is that okay? That's not okay either.
That Russia's ever made. Nord
Just my
Stream 2,
opinion.
the biggest pipeline anywhere in the world, going to Germany and all over
It was
Europe,
brilliant that Putin
because they're
waited
weak
until
and they're
Trump was
ineffective.
gone.
And Biden, by the way,
President
gets paid
Trump,
a lot of money.
thank
That
you.
was
We
what
have
he
a lot of
meant.
issues to get to.
We'll be right back with much more of this historic
Why do they keep
ABC
cutting-
presidential debate from the National Constitution Center right here in
Oh
Philadelphia.
my God. She is using a lot of buzzwords. All right, we can mute this shenanigans. I want to hear none of these people. Bro, we got a lot of issues to get to, Trump. Blah, 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 blah. But you're going to let her ramble about nothing for what, 5 minutes? Zetas Lapidus. The world... The world pays tribute to the U.S. by holding U.S. dollars, which they need to spend on oil. This gives the U.S. a lot of power as a reserve currency. Fair. Ding, ding, ding. What, CJ? Ding, ding, ding. What? Round 1 over. Ding, ding, ding. Tuggs, if I say B or bitch or dumb as I'm talking to... Well, I mean, I figured you were... I mean, I hoped you weren't talking about me, but... What do I know? All right, discuss amongst yourself. I need a refill. Right back. There's a lot to discuss. I want talking points. I think we have like a... I don't know how long the commercial breaks are now that everybody's... I think everybody's gone over time. But we got at least 2 minutes. Okay, back. Be right back. All right. What talking points we got, guys? What talking points? Hello. There we go. Do we have? I never watched Baywatch. Just by being... I probably should have paused it. I didn't think about it. It's my first news live stream, guys. I don't know. I think Germany paid $40 billion to Israel in the 80s, which is... Oh, for repercussions? Oh, yeah, in the 80s. That would make sense. Okay. Which is $5,000 per person. Oh, I did cause my dad... Oh, Baywatch. Baywatch, listen, it's cheesy. If objectively speaking, it's a cheesy show. It's like beyond the realm of belief. But it was a fun 80s watch. The men liked it, that's for sure. I think I lost Agricola, don't leave. I genuinely had a question. It was a genuine question. Listen, it never is justified to unalive innocent people. I don't care who is in the wrong. You know what I mean? Whatever law is in place that Israel gets to squat over here, it doesn't matter. Like, that doesn't justify you, and vice versa, okay? It doesn't justify you going over there and being like, kaboom! And hurting a bunch of people for no gosh darn reason, okay? That doesn't justify it. Doesn't justify if it was the other way around either. I know they've been fighting for bazillions of years. It's ridiculous. The whole thing is ridiculous. Prime Pam Anderson. Prime Pam Anderson, here's one for you. Prime Pam Anderson was in Home Improvement with Tim Allen. Look it up. Look it up. CJ says, I found it extremely dumb and pandering, and I've never liked being pandered to. Feels like I'm being taken for an idiot. Yeah, she's using a lot of buzzwords. I was kind of hoping we were going to see more of her, like, actual own opinions, and maybe I'm naive in thinking that she had them to begin with.
Welcome back to this historic ABC News presidential debate tonight. We're going to continue.
Isn't this
here.
guy
I want
was
to turn to the war
was
in
just in the
Ukraine. We're now 2.5
commercial for whatever
years,
documentary that
into
was?
this conflict. Mr. President, it has
Anyway,
been the position
she's
of the
using a lot
Biden
of
administration
buzzwords.
that we must defend Ukraine from Russia, from Vladimir Putin, to defend their sovereignty, their
Oh, I
democracy.
love Knight
That
Rider.
it's in America's best interest to do so, arguing that if Putin wins,
No,
he may be
look up
emboldened
Pam
even
Anderson and
further
Tim the
into
Toolman
other
Taylor.
countries.
Home Improvement.
You have said
You
you
won't
would
regret
solve
it.
this war in 24
I
hours.
didn't even
You
recognize
said
her.
so just before the break
Look
tonight.
at-
How exactly would you do that? And I want to ask you a very simple question tonight. Do you want Ukraine to win this war?
I want the war
Oh my
to stop.
God, what?
I want to save lives that are being uselessly, people being killed by the millions. It's the millions. It's so much worse than the numbers that you're getting, which are fake numbers. Look, we're in for 250 billion or more because they don't ask Europe, which is a much bigger beneficiary to getting this thing done than we are. They're in for $150 billion less because Biden and you don't have the courage to ask Europe like I did with NATO. They paid billions and billions, hundreds of billions of dollars when I said,
Ukraine has
either you
never been
pay
a
up
democracy.
or
Yeah, I
we're
don't
not
know
gonna
that
protect
he's.
you anymore. So that's maybe one of the reasons I don't.
Oh,
like
Heidi.
me
So
as much as
before
they like weak
Heidi, it was
people.
Pam Anderson.
But
And I think she was only on the
you
show
take
for
a
like
look
one
at
or
what's
two
happening.
episodes because she
We're
got
in for
Baywatch.
250
But the
to
difference
275
between
billion.
that
They're
and
into
Baywatch is
100 to
it like I didn't recognize her.
150.
I
They
didn't realize
should
it was
be
the same woman.
forced
It's wild.
to equalize. With that being said, I want to get the war settled. I know Zelensky very well, and I know Putin very well. I have a good relationship, and they respect your president, okay? They respect me. They don't respect
That's actually
Biden. How
facts.
would
That's
you
why we
respect him?
don't have
Why?
any of these
For what
wars.
reason? He hasn't even made a phone call in 2 years to Putin, hasn't spoken to anybody. They don't even try and get it. That is a war that's dying to be settled. I will get it settled before I even become president. If I win, when I'm president-elect, and what I'll do is I'll speak to one, I'll speak to the other, I'll get them together. That war would have never happened. And in fact, when I saw Putin after I left, unfortunately left because our country has gone to hell. But after I left, when I saw him building up soldiers, he did it after I left. I said, oh, he must be negotiating. It must be a good, strong point of negotiation. Well, it wasn't, because Biden had no idea how to talk to him. He had no idea how to stop it. And now you have millions of people dead, and it's only getting worse, and it could lead to World War III. Don't kid yourself, David. We're playing with World War III, and we have a president that we don't even know if he's. Where is our president? We don't even know if he's a president.
And just to clarify here,
2 seasons of Home Improvement. Oh, was it that long? And
we don't even know.
that may be true. I don't know. I was little.
But we have a president
I didn't even know it was
that
her.
doesn't know he's alive.
your time is up.
But she was on
Just
there
to
before
clarify your
Baywatch, so it's
question,
too. She's like too
do you
completely.
believe
It's
in
wild.
the U.S. best interests for Ukraine to win this war, yes or no?
I think it's the U.S. best interest to get this war finished and just get it done.
All right.
Negotiate a deal, because we have to stop all of these human lives from being
Yes,
destroyed.
it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
On support for Ukraine in this moment, but also as commander-in-chief, if elected, how would you deal with Vladimir Putin, and would it be any different from what
Oh,
we're
here
seeing
we
from
go.
President Biden?
Well, first of all, it's important to remind the former president you're not running against Joe Biden, you're running against me. I believe the reason that Donald Trump
Is
says
he?
that this war would be over within 24 hours is because he would just give it up. And that's not who we are as Americans. Let's understand what happened here. I actually met with Zelensky a few days before Russia invaded, tried through force to change territorial boundaries, to defy one of the most important international
Yes, CJ,
rules
I
and
did.
norms, which
She
is
was
the
like-
importance of sovereignty and territorial integrity.
Where is
And I
he?
met with
Honestly, where
President
is Joe?
Zelensky. I shared with him
Is he
American
okay? Someone do a
intelligence
welfare check.
about how he could defend himself. Days later, I went to NATO's eastern flank, to Poland and Romania. And through the work that I and others did, we brought 50 countries together to support Ukraine in its righteous defense. And because of our support, because of the air defense, the ammunition, the artillery, the javelins, the Abrams tanks that we have provided, Ukraine stands as an independent and free country. If Donald Trump were president, Putin would be sitting in Kyiv right now. And understand what that would mean, because Putin's agenda is not just about Ukraine. Understand why the European allies and our NATO allies are so thankful that you are no longer president and that we understand the importance of the greatest military alliance the world has ever known, which is NATO, and what we have done to preserve the ability of Zelensky and the Ukrainians.
NATO didn't step in to help Ukraine, did they? No, because Ukraine's not a member of NATO. Oh my God, Jesus, take the wheel.
Of Europe, starting with Poland.
NATO was like,
tell the 800,000 Polish Americans right here in
I guess,
Pennsylvania how quickly you would give up for the sake of favor and what you think is a friendship.
She just
known to be
she just admitted sharing military secrets with another country. You're right.
Vice
Yes, she
President
did.
Harris,
Yes, she did. I'm going to text my dad that.
Afghanistan came up in the last hour. I wanted her to respond to something you said earlier, and please, I'll give you a minute here.
Putin would be sitting in Moscow, and he wouldn't have lost 300,000 men
Yep.
and women, but he would have been sitting in Moscow. Quiet, please. He would have been sitting in Moscow, much happier than he is right now. But eventually, you know, he's got a thing that other people don't have. He's got nuclear weapons. They don't ever talk about that. He's got nuclear weapons. Nobody ever thinks about that.
Sean says
And
Ukraine, if we
eventually,
negotiated, would have
maybe he'll
lost
use them, and
territory.
maybe
Now they're
he
going to
hasn't
lose
been
hundreds of
that
thousands of
threatening,
people or
but
lives,
He does have that.
and then also
Something
lose
we don't
territory.
even like
Yeah.
to talk about. Nobody likes to talk about it. But just so you understand, they sent her to negotiate peace before this war started. 3 days later, he went in and he
Yeah, she
started
didn't
the
answer
war
that question at all,
because
Swigs.
Everything they said was weak and stupid.
Not on her
They
behalf,
said
anyway.
the wrong things. That war should have never started. She was the emissary. They sent her in to negotiate with Zelensky and Putin, and she did. And the war started 3 days later. And that's the kind of talent we have with her. She's worse than Biden. In my opinion, I think he's the worst president in the history of our country. She goes down as the worst vice president in the history of our country. But let me tell you something. She is a horrible negotiator. They sent her in to negotiate. As soon as they left, Putin did the invasion.
President Trump, thank you. You did bring up something. You said she went to negotiate with Vladimir Putin. Vice President Harris, have you ever met Vladimir Putin? Can you clarify tonight?
Yet again, I said it at the beginning of this debate, you're going to hear a bunch of lies coming from this fellow. And that is another one. When I went to meet with President Zelensky, I've now met with him over 5 times. The reality
He said
is
Putin.
it has been about standing as America always should, as a leader upholding
said Putin.
international rules and norms, as a leader who shows strength, understanding that the alliance
That wasn't the question. Cut her off.
are dependent on our ability to look
God, this
out
guy
for our
is a soup
friends
sandwich.
and not favor our enemies because you adore strongmen instead
That
of
wasn't the
caring
question,
about
Kamala.
democracy. And that is very much what is at stake here. The President of the United States is commander-in-chief, and the American people have a right to rely on a president who understands the significance of America's role and responsibility in terms of ensuring that there is stability and ensuring we stand up for our principles and not sell them for the benefit of personal flattery.
We've talked about Ukraine and Vladimir Putin. I do want to talk about Afghanistan. It came up in the first hour
Bro,
of
she
this
didn't
debate.
answer your
I wanted to
question.
know Afghanistan.
Stoltenberg said Trump did the most amazing thing I've ever seen. He
Oh
got
my
these
God.
countries,
He asked
28
you
countries
if you
at the
ever
time,
met with
to pay
Putin, not
up. He said,
freaking
"I've never seen."
Zelensky,
He's
you
the head of
moron.
NATO. He said,
Oh
"I've
my
never
God.
seen."
And she
For
hasn't,
years,
by the
we
way.
were
There's
almost all of
zero
NATO.
evidence of
We were
that.
being
None.
ripped off by European nations, both on trade and on NATO. I got them to pay up by saying one of the statements you made before. If you don't pay,
I'm tweeting
we're
that
not
one.
going to protect you.
President
Otherwise, we
Trump.
would have never gotten it. He said it was one of the most incredible jobs that he's ever seen done.
Thank you. I want to turn to Afghanistan. It came up in the first hour of the debate, and we witnessed a poignant moment today on Capitol Hill, honoring the soldiers who died in the chaotic withdrawal from Afghanistan. I do want to ask the Vice President, do you believe you bear any responsibility in the way that withdrawal played out?
Well, I will tell you, I agreed with President Biden's decision to pull out of Afghanistan. 4 presidents said they would, and Joe Biden did. And as a result, America's taxpayers are not paying.
What is this
the
guy's name?
$300
David
million
what?
a day we were paying for that
What is his name?
endless war. And as of
Oh,
today,
David.
there is not one member of the United States military who is in active duty in a combat zone in any war zone around the world, the first time this century. But let's understand how we got to where we are. Donald Trump, when he was president, negotiated one of the weakest deals you can imagine. He calls himself a deal maker. Even his national security advisor said it was a weak, terrible deal. And here's how it went down. He bypassed the Afghan government. He negotiated directly with a terrorist organization called the Taliban. The negotiation involved the Taliban getting 5,000 Taliban terrorists released. And get this, and the president at the time invited the Taliban to Camp David, a place of storied significance for us as Americans.
I'm tweeting that. That pisses me off.
Honor
That was
the
such an easy
importance of
question.
American diplomacy, where we invite and receive
Exactly,
respected
Swigs.
world
Exactly.
leaders. And this former president,
Matt
as
Walsh is on a
president,
tirade. I know
invited
y'all don't like him, but
to
he's on a
Camp
tirade
David
and he's not
because
wrong.
he does not, again, appreciate the role and responsibility of the President of the United States to be commander-in-chief.
Why does she
with a
hide behind his
level of
condition? That's a
respect.
great question.
And this gets back
Again,
to
civilian
the point of
questions,
how
which I don't
he
think they're
has
going to do,
consistently
because of course they're not.
disparaged and demeaned members of our
And this David
military,
Muir guy is a
fallen
freaking
soldiers,
sandwich.
and the work that we must do to uphold the strength and the respect of the United States of America around the world.
Vice President Harris, thank you. President Trump, your response to her saying that you began the
Yeah,
negotiations
thank
with
you.
the Taliban.
So, if you take a look at that period of time, the Taliban was killing our soldiers.
Alicia
A lot of
Cooper
them
has followed
with
a rank
snipers.
kick. Thank you, Felicia. I
And
believe
I
you
got
followed.
involved with the Taliban.
Was it on YouTube?
Because the
earlier?
Taliban was
Thank
doing
you.
the killing. That's the
Hi.
fighting force within
Welcome in.
Afghanistan.
It's
They
a
don't
shit
bother
show
doing
in
that
here.
because, they deal with the wrong people all the time. But I got involved.
Sean, I stopped
And
listening. She was rant. I
Abdul
don't know.
is the
I
head
honestly, I
of the
stopped listening
Taliban.
on that one.
He's
I'm so
still the
sorry.
head of
I got
the
nothing for you.
Taliban. And I told Abdul, don't do it anymore. You do it anymore, you're going to have problems.
Freaking
And he said,
Abdul.
why do you send
Damn
me
it,
a picture
Abdul.
of my
Get it
house?"
together.
I said, you're going to have to figure that out, Abdul. And for 18 months, we had nobody killed. We did have an agreement negotiated by Mike Pompeo. It was a very good
Lone Star
agreement.
says these moderators
The
are
reason
ridiculous.
it was
That
good,
David guy is
it was-
ridiculous.
we were
The
getting
woman
out.
has
We would
been,
have been out
I mean,
faster
she hasn't
than them, but
spoken
we wouldn't
much,
have
but
lost the soldiers. We wouldn't have left many Americans behind, and we wouldn't have left $85 billion worth of brand new, beautiful military equipment behind. And just to finish, they blew it. The agreement said you have to do this, and they didn't do it. They didn't do it. The agreement was terminated by us because they didn't do what they were supposed to do.
I want to move on.
And these people.
we
did
live
the
in a
worst
simulation.
withdrawal. And in my opinion, the most embarrassing moment in the history of our country. And by the way, that's why Russia attacked Ukraine, because
Yep.
they saw how incompetent she and her boss are.
Oh man, we're coming up on the 90-minute mark. Are we going to
I wanna
go
move on now
over?
to
We may
recent
go over.
politics in this country. Mr. President, you recently said of Vice President Harris, quote, "I didn't know she was black until a number of years ago when she happened to turn black, and now she wants to be known as black."
Oh
I
no.
want to ask a bigger picture question here tonight. Why do you believe it's appropriate to weigh in on the racial identity of your opponent?
I don't, and I don't care. I don't care what she is. I don't care.
But
You make a big deal out of something. I couldn't care less. Whatever she wants to be is okay with me.
Those
But-
are your words. So I'm
I
asking.
don't know. I don't know. I mean, all I can say is I read where she was not black, that she put out, and I'll say that. And then I read that she was black, and that's okay. Either one was okay with me. That's up to her. That's up to her.
Vice President Harris, your thoughts on this?
I think it's, I mean, honestly, I think it's a tragedy that we have someone who wants to be president who has consistently, over the course of his career, attempted to use race to divide the American people. You know, I do believe that the vast majority of us know that we have so much more in common than what separates us, and we don't want this kind of approach that is just constantly trying to divide us, and especially by race. And let's remember,
no, she did not.
Donald
She
Trump
did
was
not.
a land, he owned land, he owned buildings, and he was investigated because
Where's my
he
straw? I
refused
need a
to
straw.
rent property to black families. Let's remember, this is the same individual who took out a full-page ad in the New York Times calling for the execution of 5 young Black and Latino boys who were innocent, the Central Park 5, took out a full-page ad calling for their execution. This is the same individual who spread birther lies about the first Black president of the United States. And I think the American
Nothing
people
about a
want better than that, want better than this, want someone who understands, as I do, I travel our country. We see in each other a friend. We see in each other a neighbor. We don't want a leader who is constantly trying to have Americans point their fingers at each other. I meet with people all the time who tell me, can we please just have discourse about how we're going to invest in the aspirations and the ambitions and the dreams of the American people.
I know what she's talking about.
Knowing that
The Central Park 5
of people's color or the language their grandmother speaks, we all have the same dreams and aspirations and want a president who invests in those, not in hate and division.
Vice President Harris, thank you. Lindsay?
President Trump, this is now your 3rd time.
This is the most divisive presidency in the history of our country. There's never been anything like it. They're destroying our country, and they come up with things like what she just said. Going back many, many years, when a lot of people, including Mayor Bloomberg, agreed with me on the Central Park 5, they admitted, they said, they pled guilty. And I said, well, if they pled guilty, they badly hurt a person, killed a person ultimately. And if they pled guilty, then they pled, we're not guilty. But this is a person that has to stretch back years, 40, 50 years ago, because there's nothing now. I built one of the greatest economies in the history of the world, and I'm going to build it again. It's going to be bigger, better, and stronger. But they're destroying our economy. They have no idea what a good economy is. Their oil policies, every single policy. And remember this, she is Biden. You know, she's trying to get away from Biden. I don't know the gentleman, she says. She is Biden. The worst inflation we've ever had, a horrible economy because inflation has made it so bad, and she can't get away with that.
Thank you. Your time is up, Lindsay.
I want to respond to that, though. I want to just respond briefly. Clearly, I am not Joe Biden, and I am certainly not Donald Trump. And what I do offer is a new generation of leadership for our country, one who believes in what is possible, one who brings a sense of optimism about what we can do instead of always disparaging the American people. I believe in what we can do to strengthen our small businesses, which is why I have a plan. Let's talk about our plans and let's
your
compare the
plan,
plans.
Kamala?
I have a plan.
What is it? Do you?
To give startup businesses
What is it? Because you haven't said
$50,000
anything.
tax deduction to pursue their ambitions, their innovation, their ideas, their hard work. I have a plan, $6,000 for young families for the first year of your child's life to help you in that most critical stage of your child's development. I have a plan that is
New
about
generation are you,
allowing
60? I have
people
no
to
idea
be
how
able
old
to
she is, but good
pursue
point.
what has been fleeting in terms of the American dream by offering a help with down payment of $25,000 down payment assistance for first-time home buyers. That's the kind of conversation I
Which
believe,
ones,
David,
buddy?
that people really want tonight.
Those of us who
as
live
opposed to
here
a
or born and
conversation
raised
that is
here and
constantly
are
about
citizens, or the other
belittling
ones?
and
I'm just wondering.
name-calling. Let's turn the page
Vice President
and move
Harris,
forward.
thank you. Let's turn to policy.
President
Let's turn
Trump,
back
we
to
have
policy.
to move on. President Trump.
Let's
Bull
turn to
crap!
policy, please.
Bullshit!
To defund the police. She has a plan to confiscate everybody's gun.
We have to move
President
on.
Trump, you have
Bull
to
crap!
move on.
Not
Other
allow
issues.
fracking in Pennsylvania or anywhere else.
Okay. Thank
That's
you, Mr.
what her
President.
plan is until
Oh.
just recently.
I just need
Lindsay,
to
go ahead.
respond
President
because
Trump,
the
President
Hi,
Trump.
America's darling. How are you?
Twice that I need to respond
No,
to.
I'm sorry.
I
We're
just
going
need
to move
respond
on, Vice
one
President
time
Harris.
to what he has
President
said
Trump, this
multiple
is now
times.
your 3rd time running for president. You have long vowed to repeal and replace the Affordable Care Act, also known as Obamacare. You have failed to accomplish that. You now say you're going to keep Obamacare, quote, unless we can do something much better. Last month, you said, quote, we're working on it. So tonight, 9 years after you first started running, do you have a plan, and can you tell us what it is?
Obamacare was lousy health care.
Keep hearing we have a
Always
plan,
was.
but she
It's
hasn't.
not
She's
very
come
good
out and
today.
said they're not going to reveal
And
it
what
until
I
after
said
she's
that if
elected.
we
They
up
come
with
out and said that.
something,
Her
and we
team
are
came out and
working
said
on
it.
things, we're
She
gonna do it,
knows
and
how
we're
she
gonna
hasn't
replace
said
it.
what her
Now,
plan is this
remember
entire time.
I inherited Obamacare because Democrats wouldn't change it. They wouldn't vote for it. They were unanimous. They wouldn't vote to change it. If they would have done that, we would have had a much better plan than Obamacare. But the Democrats came up. They wouldn't vote for it. I had a choice to make when I was president. Do I save it and make it as good as it can be? Never going to be great. Or do I
Shout
let
out
it
to my 3
rot?
people on Twitch.
And
I
I
love you
felt I
guys.
had an
You're the best.
obligation, even though politically it would have been
Which
good
is
to
like,
just
I don't
let
want
it
no part of
rot and
this.
let
I don't
it
blame
go
y'all.
away.
I really don't.
I decided, and I told my people, the top people, and they're very good people. I have a lot of good people in that administration.
It was the
We
most
read
Trump
about the
thing. They're
bad
very
ones.
good
We had some
people.
real bad ones too, and so do they. They have really bad ones. The difference is they don't get rid of them. But let me just explain. I had a choice to make. Do I
Focus,
save
Donald.
it
Jesus.
and make it as good as it can be, or do I let it rot? And I saved it. I did the right thing. But it's still never going to be great, and it's too expensive for people. And
Shout out to
what
Corey.
we will do is we're looking at different plans. If we can come up with a plan that's going to cost our people, our population, less money and be better health care than Obamacare,
Do you
then I
guys know
would
the story about the
absolutely
Central
do
Park
it.
5? I
But
can't believe
until
she brought
then,
that
I'd
up.
run it as good as it can be run.
My true crime
So
self
just
was
a
like,
yes or no, you still do not have
hold
a
on.
plan.
I have concepts of a plan. I'm not president right now. But if we come up with something, I would only change it if we come up with something that's better and less expensive. And there are
It's been a
concepts
shit
and
show,
options
Americas. Thanks
we
for
have
asking. How has it
to
been?
do
A
that.
shit show.
And
I'm
you'll
on
be
my
hearing
second glass
about
of
it in the
wine, and it was up to
not-too-distant
here,
future.
and now it's
Vice
here. So
President
here we
Harris,
are.
in 2017, you supported Bernie Sanders' proposal to do away with private insurance and create a government-run healthcare system. 2 years later, you proposed a plan that included a private insurance option. What is your plan today?
Well, first of all, I absolutely support and
Here we
over
go.
the last 4 years as vice president, private healthcare options. But what we need to do is maintain and grow the Affordable Care Act. But I'll get to that, Lindsay. I just need to respond to a previous point that
Oh
the
boy, here we
former
go.
president has made.
Are they gonna
I've
cut
made
her
very
off?
clear my position on fracking.
We have
And
time,
then this
Kamala.
business about
We got a lot of
taking
issues to get
everyone's
to,
guns away.
Kamala.
Tim Walz and I are both gun owners. We're not taking anybody's guns away. So stop with the continuous lying about this stuff.
You don't own it.
As
Bull
it relates to the
crap.
Affordable
You
Care
own a
Act,
gun.
Understand?
Bull
Just
crap.
look at the history to know where people stand. When Donald Trump was president, 60 times he
You have
tried to
guns
get
for
rid
hire.
of the Affordable Care Act. 60 times. I was a
Caught
senator
it.
at the time when I will never forget the early morning hours when it was up for a vote in the United States Senate. And the late, great John McCain, who you have disparaged as
Great.
being, you don't like him,
John
you
McCain?
said, at the time because he got caught. He was an American hero. The late, great John McCain, I will never forget that night, walked onto the Senate floor and
When
said,
did we decide John
"No,
McCain
you
was
don't.
great?
No, you don't.
What?
No, you
When did
don't
that
get
happen?
rid of the Affordable Care Act. You have no plan. And what the Affordable Care Act has done is eliminate
Shit show for
the
who? Both of them?
ability
More for her,
insurance
but
companies
yeah.
to deny
McCain
people with
sucked,
pre-existing
yeah.
conditions. I don't have to tell the people watching tonight. You remember what that was like? Remember when an insurance company could deny if a child had asthma, if someone was a breast cancer survivor, if a grandparent had diabetes? And thankfully, as I've been vice president and we over the last 4 years have strengthened the Affordable Care Act, we have allowed for the first time Medicare to negotiate drug prices on behalf of you, the American people.
Which
Donald
drug?
Trump said he was
Fentanyl?
gonna
'Cause
allow
it's number
Medicare to
one in the
negotiate
country right now.
drug
Godspeed.
prices. He never did. We did. And now we have capped the cost of insulin at $35 a month. Since I've been vice president, we have capped the cost of prescription medication for seniors at $2,000 a year. And when I am president, we will do that for all people, understanding that the value I bring to this is that access to health care should be a right and not just a privilege for those who can afford it.
That's
And
not what
the
a right
plan
is.
has to be to strengthen the Affordable Care Act, not get rid of it.
Vice
Past his
President
prologue
Harris, thank
in terms
you.
of where Donald Trump stands on that.
I want to move to an issue that's important for a
She
lot
made a
of
mistake. Number one, John McCain fought Obamacare for 10 years. But it
Yes, he
wasn't
did. That
only
is
him.
true.
It was all of the Democrats
Yes, it is.
that kept it going. And you know
Yep.
what? We can do much better than Obamacare, much less money. But she won't improve private insurance for people, private medical insurance. That's another thing she doesn't want to get.
President
People
Trump-
are paying privately for insurance that have worked hard and made money. And
All
they want to have
people.
private. She wants everybody to be on government insurance where you wait 6 months for an operation that you need immediately.
President Trump, thank you. We have another issue that we'd like to get to that's important for a number of Americans, in particular younger voters, and that's climate change. President Trump,
Oh
with
my
regard to the
God, here we go.
environment, you say that we have to have clean air and clean water. Vice President Harris, you call climate change an existential threat. The question to you both tonight is, what would you do to
This
fight
is why
climate
Elon Musk
change?
wants to go to
Vice
fucking
President Harris,
space.
we'll start with you.
Because it's
1
shit
minute
like
for you
this.
each.
Well, the
Existential
former
threat.
president has
Bullshit.
said the climate change is a hoax. And what we know is that it is very real. You ask anyone who lives in a state who has experienced these extreme weather occurrences, who now is either being denied home insurance or it's being jacked up. You ask anybody who has been the victim of what that means.
You know what they called climate change when I was a kid? Global warming. It's literally the same thing.
We know that we can actually deal with this issue. The young people of America care deeply about this.
Oh yeah, no, Jonathan, the mods are
As
absolutely.
Vice President, over
Yep.
the last 4 years, we have invested
That's why it's on
$1 trillion
ABC.
in a clean
Why it's on
energy
ABC.
economy, while we have also increased domestic gas production to historic levels. We have created over 800,000 new manufacturing jobs while I have been vice president. We have invested
the
in clean
Teslas.
energy to the point that we are opening up factories around the world. Donald Trump said he was going to create manufacturing jobs. He lost manufacturing jobs. And I'm also proud to have the endorsement of the United Auto Workers and Sean Fain, who also know that part of building a clean energy economy includes investing in American-made
Who's
products,
from,
American automobiles. It includes
HOAX.
growing what we can do. It's
called global warming when I was a kid. Oh, Al Gore was all about it.
Not closing them
Yeah.
like
What happened to
happened
Al
under
Gore?
Donald
Is he
Trump.
still alive?
President Harris,
I hope he's
thank
doing
you.
well.
That didn't happen under Donald Trump. Let me just tell you, they lost 10,000 manufacturing jobs this last month. It's going.
You know why?
They're building big
Because
oil
the
plants
Teslas
in
are blowing
Mexico,
up!
In many cases, owned
Look at
by
Elon.
China. They're building these massive plants, and they think
Chips
they're
are in
gonna sell their
China. The
cars
Teslas
into
are
the
self-driving and
United
killing
States because
people.
of
It's a whole
these
big thing.
people. What they have given
Elon's
to
like, I'm gonna go to
China is
space. This is gonna be
unbelievable.
great.
But we're not going to let that. We'll
Fix your
put tariffs
cars,
on those
bro.
cars so they
Fix
can't
your
come
freaking
into our
cars.
country, because
Love
they
a
will
Pete.
kill the United Auto Workers and any auto worker, whether it's in Detroit or South Carolina or
Should've
any
gotten
other
liquor.
place. What they've done to business
Tequila.
and
Oh, I have Fireball.
manufacturing in this country
I have
is
to do a Fireball shot.
horrible. We have nothing because they refuse. You know,
Al Gore is still
Biden
around, but
doesn't
keeps
go
low
after
profile. I'm
people
shocked.
because supposedly China paid him millions of dollars. He's afraid to do it. Between him and his son, they get all this money from Ukraine. They get all this money from all of these
Which has been
different countries.
proven.
And then you wonder, why is he so loyal to this one, that one, Ukraine, China? Why is he? Why
Teslas
did he
are the
get
bomb.
$3.5
Literally.
million from the mayor of Moscow's
Literally.
wife? Why did she pay him $3.5 million? This is a crooked administration, and they're selling our country down the tubes.
President Trump, thank you.
Thank you.
We'll be right back with closing statements from
That's it. That's good. Really? Listen, hi, Cecil is the bestest. Hit the like button. Hi, darling. How are you? Cecil is the best. Teslas are the bomb. Corey, you just reminded me of something. And I think I might tweet this. I mean, it's been a few days, but I might do it anyway because I'm like that dog with that. This is fine. And the Elmo gif where he's surrounded by fire. Fuck it. I love how Elon Musk, and listen, I like Elon Musk overall as a whole, all right? I don't like his devil worshipping costume, but that's a whole other argument. He's like a self-sustaining city. It's going to be great on Mars. I'm like, sir, your cars are literally killing people. They are flooding. They are malfunctioning and driving. This just happened in Vegas. One drove on its, it malfunctioned, drove on its own and killed 2 people in Vegas. That just happened not that long ago. Maybe we fix your cars before you start colonizing space. The fuck? Oh my god, I can't with Elon right now. He's pissing me off. Thanks for watching. We'll be right back. I can't believe you're going to end this right now. There's no way they got to all the topics. There is no way. There's no way. There is no way they got to all the topics. No way. The boomer Tuggs. No. Y'all know I'm right. There are so many of Teslas just spontaneously catching on fire for no fucking reason. Elon Musk, as much as I like Elon, he's got great vision. All right? But he's just like every other freaking scientist that ever existed. Hold my beer. Oopsies! They get no accountability for the crap they cause. It's ridiculous. I can't. I'm so done. I'm so done with scientists. I'm so done. All right, anyway. Did the stream end? No, why? Am I still over in YouTube? Did I get cut? Yeah! Did I? Oh, no. It says I'm still... No, I paused it. It's fine. Anyway. John 42 says EVs have a larger environmental impact than gas cars. It takes 300,000 tons of earth to be moved to make one EV better. Exactly, John. Exactly. Swig says, have you seen the self-driving taxi parking lot that has the cars honking all night, trying to park and disrupting the neighborhoods? No, but that sounds about right. Closing statements are after commercial. Yeah, we're on a commercial right now. They're going to close. It's been an hour and 38 minutes. Anyway. Oh, Court. Cecil is the best. I'm so happy you're here. Thank you. Welcome for being here. Let's see. Al Gore lost presidency. Oh my God, I forgot he ran for president all those years ago. What a loser. Anyway, lost the presidency, then became a billionaire, claiming that if you gave people like him money and power, they could change the weather. Yeah, that worked well. I mean, if you are a real conspiracy theorist, you know that the government controls the weather anyway. Anyway, it doesn't matter. You know what's good, Tuggs, says Americus? A shot of Fireball and an 8-ounce of glass of apple juice. Oh my gosh. I bet that's so good. I don't have any apple juice. I have apples, but no juice. That sounds so good. Climate science is pseudoscience. According to the UN, it's just a tool to overthrow capitalism. Yeah, well, and the UN, listen, not a big fan of the UN, but sometimes they speak the truth without realizing it, or maybe they do it on purpose because they know nobody listens to them as a whole. I'm here for it. Oh, the Central Park 5. All right, I'm gonna pause this. We may be behind. I'm sorry. Short summary. In 1989, 5 men, a mixture of Black and Latino men, were convicted of rape, assault, and a bunch of other terrible crimes to a woman that was jogging. I think she was white. Doesn't matter. But either way, she was jogging through Central Park. She was, brutalized. And she was absolutely brutalized. So these 5 guys were arrested in the crime of it. They were convicted. They confessed. And they were sentenced to prison. And Trump and this was in New York, obviously, and Trump being a big thing, which he has been for 40 years in New York, wrote a thing about how these men hurt this woman so badly, and all they're getting is years in prison, like bring the death penalty back, blah, blah, blah. That was the ad she was talking about. This is really what happened. He actually did it. It was a full-page ad, and he was like, bring the death penalty back. These animals don't deserve to live, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, it didn't happen because it's New York. And so they were just sentenced to life. I can't remember exact sentences, but they were sentenced to life in prison, I think without parole. It doesn't matter. Anyway, in 2002, all 5 of them were exonerated because some guy came forward and was like, yeah, actually, that was me. And I just let them take the fall for it because I could. And they tested his DNA and it turned out to be true. So in 2002, they were exonerated and let go from prison. And here we are.
Focused on the future.
So let me go back.
Pennsylvania.
All right, here we go.
Here again. David Muir.
Anyway, that's the Central Park 5. So that's what she was talking about.
Back tonight. The time has come.
Everybody and their mother in New York City at that time was like, hang these men. F these men, they're monsters, hang them. It's the 80s, and they were convicted. So anyway, it doesn't matter.
Country. One that is focused on the future, and the other that is focused on the past.
We're a little behind,
and an attempt to take us backward. But we're not going back. And I do believe that the American people know we all have so much more in common than what separates us. And we can chart a new way forward.
What a concept.
And a vision of that includes having a plan, understanding the aspirations, the dreams, the hopes, the ambition of the American people, which is why I intend to create an opportunity economy, investing in small businesses, in new families, in what we can do around protecting seniors, what we can do that is about giving hardworking folks a break and bringing down the cost of living. I believe in what we can do together that is about sustaining America's standing in the world and ensuring that we have the respect that we so rightly deserve, including respecting our military.
She's not
and
new,
ensuring
exactly.
we have the most lethal fighting force in the world. I will be a president that will protect our fundamental rights and freedoms, including the right of a woman to make decisions about her own body and not have her government tell her what to do. I'll tell you, I started my career as a prosecutor. I was a DA, I was an attorney general, a United States senator, and now vice president. I've only had one client, the people. And I'll tell you, as a prosecutor, I never asked a victim or a witness, are you a Republican or a Democrat? The only thing I ever asked them, are you okay?
No, you did not. Bull crap.
Need right now. Someone who cares about you and is not putting themselves first.
That's why you laughed about
I intend
Colorado,
to be a
right?
president for all Americans and focus on what we can do over the next 10 and 20 years to build back up our country by investing right now in you, the
Build
American
back better.
people.
She almost said it.
Vice
She almost said
Harris,
it.
thank
She
you,
almost said
President
it.
Trump.
So she just started by saying she's going to do this, she's going to do that, she's going to do all these wonderful things. Why hasn't she done it? She's been there for 3.5 years. They've had 3.5 years to fix the border. They've had 3.5 years to create jobs and all the things we talked about. Why hasn't she done it? She should leave right now, go down to that beautiful White House, go to the Capitol, get everyone together and do the things you want to do, but you haven't done it and you won't do it because you believe in things that the American people don't believe in. You believe in things like we're not going to frack. We're not going to take fossil fuel. We're not going to do things that are going to make this country strong, whether you like it or not. Germany tried that, and within 1 year, they were back to building normal energy plants. We're not ready for it. We can't sacrifice our country for the sake of bad vision. But I just ask one simple question. Why didn't she do it? We're a failing nation. We're a nation that's in serious decline. We're being laughed at all over the world. All over the world, they're laughed. I know the leaders very well. They're coming to see me. They call me. We're laughed at all over the world. They don't understand what happened to us as a nation. We're not a leader. We don't have any idea what's going on. We have wars going on in the Middle East. We have wars going on with Russia and Ukraine. We're going to end up in a third world war, and it'll be a war like no other because of nuclear weapons, the power of weaponry. I rebuilt our entire military. She gave a lot of it away to the Taliban. She gave it to Afghanistan. What these people have done to our country, and maybe toughest of all, is allowing millions of people to come into our country. Many of them are criminals, and they're destroying our country. The worst president, the worst vice president in the history of our country.
President Trump, thank you. And that is our ABC News presidential debate from here in Philadelphia at the National Constitution Center. I'm Lindsay Davis.
And I'm David Muir. Thank you for watching here in the U.S. and all over the world, and from all of us here at ABC News. Good night.
Thank you. And we are here live on ABC with our post-debate comments. I'm Martha Raddatz. It was a lot.
Don't care about your post-debate comments. We'll read them, but we're not going to listen to them. Cecil says the guy that ended up confessing also said originally that they helped him hold her down and attempted to assault her as well. They also attacked other people. It was a group of about 30 kids. There you are. Are they innocent? I don't know, wasn't there? But the DNA doesn't lie, and the DNA exonerated them for the crimes that they were charged for. So that's where we're at. That was back in 2002. But yeah, well, what Kamala said was true. He did take out an ad campaign. He did. Everybody did. Everybody wanted these kids' heads. It's like when Richard Ramirez... And now he's guilty, but when Richard Ramirez was found out to be Richard Ramirez, the Night Stalker, all the women he hurt, all the women he raped, all the women he killed, blah, blah, the neighborhood literally hunted this man down, and they trapped him in a car, and he had to call 911 to come and get him. They were going to kill him because of what he did. Now he did do what he did. And not 30 years later, he wasn't exonerated. He died in prison and all that, whatever, blah, blah. It's the same mentality, though. Okay. And all evidence at the time pointed to these boys. And according to Cecil, it still kind of points to these boys. My point is that you bring up something from 1989 where you were alive for, fun fact, you old witch, you were alive for. It was all over the news. I texted it to my dad. I said, Kamala brought up the Central Park 5. And he goes, of course she did. He was a cop in 1989. He knows exactly what the Central Park 5 was. Everybody all over the country wanted those boys hanged. Every single person. Does it make it right? Nah. They went with the evidence they had at the time, and all evidence pointed to them. And according to Cecil, it still points to them in a way. But DNA trumps all, which, amen, get this mother effer arrested too. Add him to the list. Anyway, Kamala's ridiculous. Whatever. How high were her heels? I bet she had a lot of walking lessons. Martha Raddatz is Loon. Who's Martha Raddatz? Oh, is this the lady here? I don't know. I'm not even reading. You guys are probably reading more than me. I'm just ranting at this point. I'm not the real Cecil. No, I know. But it's just easier to call. Yeah. It's easier to just say Cecil. Cecil is the best. Not the real Cecil, but I shorten people's names, which is probably a detriment. But yeah, Cecil is the best, which I still appreciate you being here for. I know you're not. But anybody that's listening on YouTube also is not the real Cecil. Swig says the news outlets are going to say she won. Maybe not like she made a good finger paint like Biden, but still lies. She didn't answer a single policy question, which is, if you're going to vote for her, you need to know her like, that's the point. What are her policies? And she still won't answer that question. She dodged that She dodged that question. I don't know how many times. I don't know how many times. Like, and then Trump was the one that was like, why haven't you done this the last 3 years? And they didn't even give her a chance to rebuttal because they know. Doesn't matter. We went over time anyway. It's 9:49. We're supposed to end at 9:30. We're almost 15 minutes late. Wait, 10 minutes late. You couldn't go an extra couple minutes and be like, yeah, Kamala. No, because it's ABC News. I don't know that Fox would have been any different.
Asian Corey 88 just redeemed posture check.
Posture check. Thank you, Corey. I don't know that. Good night, Corey. Thank you for being here and hanging out. I appreciate you. I will do your posture check. Oh God, thank you. They didn't give her the chance to rebuttal, did they? No. They didn't give her a chance to be like, well, I just, as a woman, I don't have the authority, but I'm going to change that. Like, she could have come with some bullcrap answer. Well, it's The Handmaid's Tale or whatever. They didn't even give her a chance. They said, all right, well, that's it. To me, that is a Trump win on no matter what you think. They did not, and they have done it the entire night, given her the chance to rebuttal. And that was the topic they did not give her the chance to rebuttal on. That's a win. It may not win the whole thing, but that right there in itself is a win. I'm going to tweet that. That was good. Anyway, but that right there is a win. You've given her the entire night to rebuttal everything Trump has said, which you should, and vice versa. It's a debate, absolutely. But this last topic he brings up and is like, why hasn't she done this for the last 3.5 years, 4 years? What the hell? And they did not let her rebuttal. That's a win to me. That tells me all I need to know. Corey, have a good sleep. Fox News isn't one I used to be. That's facts. What's with the assumption for The Handmaid's Tale? I don't know. I honestly don't know, America. I just bring it up. CNN gave her you already know, gave her the dub. Oh, I'm sure they did. Jonathan Stevie says, Tuggs, they should have let me mod the debate. I would have pressed them both. Yeah. About the hard questions. Whatever those hard questions are. I don't know what they are, so I'm not that involved. I'm involved enough, but not that involved. I'm sure Jeremy could come up with something. America's come up with something. Jonathan could come up with something. It just is like, oh my god. Oh my god, look, it's Vance! Oh my god!
I want to get to one part in the debate where you came up.
I was
Donald
not
Trump was asked if he would veto a national abortion ban. He didn't answer the question, suggested, I guess, that he wouldn't. And then it was pointed out that you, in fact, said not that long ago that he would
let's see.
veto
What does he say? What does he say?
a national abortion ban. Can you explain the mix-up here?
Well, I think the president's been very clear that he doesn't want a national abortion ban. I think in some ways he finds the question a little bit ridiculous because why are we asking him about legislation that's never going to actually happen and why he would veto it or not veto it when he says very explicitly that he doesn't support a national abortion ban and he wants these policies to be made by the states. But I think there's a deeper and more important issue here in this debate, which is that you had Kamala Harris effectively echoing platitude after platitude after platitude. The American people can't pay their grocery bills on platitudes. They can't put their kids in a house on platitudes. And Kamala Harris had a lot to say, but very little actual substance behind it for how she's going to lower grocery prices, secure the border, and make housing more affordable in this country. She's been the vice president for 3.5 years. She can't run on a record, and she apparently can't run on much of her plans either because it's just a lot of slogans and not a whole lot of substance.
But Senator Vance, why won't he just say that he would veto the national abortion ban? And by the way, had you spoken to him about it before you were put in a position to answer that question?
No, I hadn't spoken to him about it because, again, Donald Trump thinks the question is absurd because he doesn't support a national abortion ban, and he's been explicit about it. And, John, I think that it's so preposterous for the media to focus so much on an issue where Donald Trump has been crystal clear and not on the fact that people can't afford groceries and housing because of Kamala Harris's policies. This election is actually quite simple, and Kamala Harris and apparently the media would like to distract Americans on issues, by the way, that Donald Trump's been crystal clear about, but they're not talking nearly enough. This debate didn't talk nearly enough about the fact that Americans are struggling because they can't afford groceries, they can't afford housing, and a lot of their kids are dying of fentanyl overdoses because Kamala Harris has let the Mexican drug cartels take over the southern border. This is a disgrace,
Senator,
what's going on in our country, John, and we could do so much better if we just had better leadership.
Poor John is like, I don't want to be here.
Beautiful country, the best natural resources, but Kamala Harris's leadership is squandering the great benefits of this country. It's why we've got to get back to Donald Trump's leadership.
Senator, by the way, I asked because he hadn't been crystal clear and he said something different than what you said. That's
yeah, Swigs, Vance's crush.
Let me ask you about this for just very quickly. I heard Donald Trump before this debate describe Kamala Harris as, I'll just read a few of them, a low IQ individual, somebody who doesn't have the mental capacity to be president, really dumb, unable to put two sentences together. Is that what you saw on the stage tonight?
John, what I saw was a lot of slogans. I think the American people are smart, and Kamala Harris talks to them like they're children. She repeats these ridiculous platitudes where if you actually think about what she said, you realize that it doesn't make any sense. She talks a lot about her plans, but then her plans, when you analyze the substance, don't make any sense. And more importantly, John, the American people don't get fed on plans. She has been the vice president for 3.5 years. What she can't do, refuses to do, and has no ability to do is to say, I accomplished lower prices because she didn't, or I accomplished lower housing prices because she didn't, or I secured the southern border because she didn't do that. She has failed as vice president, and the fundamental question is, do we want to give her a promotion? I think the answer has to be no, John.
All right, Senator Vance, thank you for joining us. Mary.
One thing both sides can agree on, this is a consequential night in this week's
This guy is like, how did I drop the short straw? Stick around after the debate is done. Como, one of the anchors, interviews JD Vance, and it is epic. Like, why did I have to interview this man? F this man. Hi, Silky Kyle. Welcome in. Sean says no knockout blows for either side, but when it comes to optics, Kamala probably won. Yeah, I agree with you. They're gonna be like, oh well, optics. She was like rolling her eyes and shaking her head and being emotional, whereas like Dawn was focused. Yeah. Vance knows how to avoid the bait. Yes, he does. Because you know what it is, though? Is because Vance was anti-Trump for so long. You know what I mean? So he has seen the bait because he's been a part of the bait, right? Whether you agree with Trump or not, whether you're on Trump's side or whatever, there's a question baiting tactic that goes along with Donald Trump. And Vance was a part of that because he was not a fan of Trump for so long. So he knows it when he sees it because he was it. Am I making sense when I say that? Like, he was a part of that. So it's like, he's like, I'm not falling for your crap because I was your crap however many years, 2, 3, 4, whatever, how many years ago. I was that way. So I know what you're doing. I'm not stupid. Silky Kyle says that's all Trump has is slogans and buzzwords. Don't know how to end up following you, but I'm out. Okay, bye! Sorry? Question mark? Sorry? Anyway, I'm really good at video games. Give me a follow. America says also she was probably given the questions in advance. Maybe? I don't know. Honestly, I don't know. Kamala is an NPC with no substance. I mean, honestly, Silky Kyle, you can still follow me. It's fine. I don't care that you disagree. Like, I'm not gonna unfriend you. I'm not gonna block you. I'm not gonna talk shit about you. Unlike what you're probably doing right now. Even though you're not watching this, you're probably running your mouth. And that's fine. You can do what you want. It's okay. I will say, though, Kamala did, and I said this when it happened in the debate, when she was like, oh, God, it's been so long now. What the heck did she say? What? Oh, she was talking about, like, it doesn't matter, but she called it out, and I was like, kudos to her. She should have called that out, and she did. Anyway, I called that earlier, and now I can't remember what it was because it was an hour and a half ago, and I've had some wine, so it's fine. CJ says he shouldn't have been on the short bus. It always cracks me up because Democrats are all the same. They're all the same. They're all the same. They will not tolerate it. They're supposed to be the tolerant party, but they will not tolerate anybody having a different view than them. And Silly Kyle's not wrong. Trump has his buzzwords and Trump has his own slogans. But the difference is, in my personal opinion, is that they're his slogans and his buzzwords. Whereas a lot of Democrat politicians, most of them, I would say, have the same slogans and the same buzzwords and the same talking points and the same crowd instigators, whatever you want to call them. They have the same ones. Whereas Trump has his own. And that doesn't mean you have to disagree with, or you have to agree with it. But they're his own. It's what he says. JD Vance says something different. Anyway, that's my thing. Thanks for the unfollow. ABC gave Hillary the questions beforehand, says Cecil is the bestest. I think it only came out comments. That honestly, it wouldn't surprise me. It would not surprise me. I'm sure you're right. Swigs. Oh, yes, that's what it was. Swigs, thank you. She admitted Hamas was a terrorist group. Thank you. Finally. And she should have, because they are. There's nothing wrong with saying that. You don't have to agree with what Israel's doing. You don't have to agree with what Hamas is doing. The bottom line is Hamas is the Al-Qaeda of Palestine. Like, that's the facts. So kudos. Mad props to her. I will say, good for her for saying that. Good for her. Absolutely, you should. Because they are. That's what they are. Period. End of story. Kudos. Hi, Roto. Oh God, Chris Christie again. I gotta tell y'all, I thought he like retired. Didn't he retire? Why is he? Anyway, it doesn't matter. I'm not unmuting him. I can't listen to him. Hi, Trey. How bad was it? And honestly, I mean, it was all right. ABC News anchors were definitely biased, that's for sure. And I lost a follower on Twitch. I'm kind of sad about, but it's fine. CJ says, I have 50 accounts. I can replace that follow. Can you replace it on Twitch? Because that's where he unfollowed me from. Cecil is the best says, did you say that the Taliban ban women from talking in public? I mean, I'm sure they do. I didn't say that. Did I say that? No, I don't think so. This is the woman who gave Hillary the questions. Oh, the Oh, she's gone. Where'd she go? Not this one. The one before? The dark-haired white girl? You talking about? What are you talking about? Listen, you gotta do what you gotta do. Trey! Swigs is here, and Trey is here. Trey, I lost a follower on Twitch. I'm sad. He's like, I don't know why I ended up following you, but I'm out. Okay. Sorry. And the worst part is like, I agree with him. Trump has his own buzzwords and slogans. I agree with him. He does. He does. That's human nature. Mine is Zetas Lapidus. Like, if I were to run for president, you'd hear that Zetas Lapidus. Like, that's my little slogan. I don't know. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Good Lord. Anyway, that's a bummer, Kyle. Silky Kyle, I'm sad for you. And I'm sad in general, honestly. Oh well. I know why he followed you, boobs. No, he might have been part of a raid from, I had a bunch of follows from, like, Neebs Gaming. He might have been one. I honestly don't remember. He might have been one of those. I don't know. But that's a bummer, because I have never in my life unfollowed or unfriended anybody for a difference of opinion. I've had that happen to me. I've had good friends, mostly women, which is all you need to know about women. But mostly women unfriend me because I think the opposite. But I've never done it to them. So it is what it is. Trump 2024. Do you not like your politics? No, I was talking about, he was in the chat and he came in at a weird, well, not a weird time, but he came at a time where I was like, Kamala is like all about slogans and buzzwords. Like, she didn't say anything. She didn't say anything about her policies, which is a fact. Like, if you watch the debate, she doesn't. She doesn't talk about her, she just doesn't. For whatever reason, it doesn't matter the reason. And he was like, I don't know why I'm following you. Trump, or he said like, Trump has his slogans and buzzwords too. I don't even know why I'm following you. I'm out. I'm like, I didn't even get a chance to respond, Kyle. He does. The difference is those are his words. Anyway, that's where we're at right now. My dad's behind because he's got like a DVR, and so he records it and then waits. So he's super behind. Anyway, that's what happened to Kyle. If they unfriended you, they were never friends to begin with. That's fair. That's some bitch shit, says Trey. It is! The heck, man? I don't care. I'll never forgive Eve, but I don't trash women. Some people do. It's fine. I don't know what these yahoos are. So this guy in the middle, for those of you who met, the only guy got to interview JD Vance, probably because he's a guy. The women were like, I'm not talking to him. And he was so miserable. Just makes me laugh. Jonathan Stevie says she didn't. She just said buzzwords and had no substance. She didn't answer a single question. Yeah. My favorite part about it is when, and this should be a thing. I'm just gonna, because I can't. This should be a thing in general. Like, whoever you're voting for, the fact that they ended the debate without letting Kamala rebuttal Trump's, like, she's been in office for 4 years. Why hasn't she done any of this? This is like, why? Why hasn't she done any of this? Everything she's promising, she has had the opportunity to do for 4 years and she hasn't. Why? And they cut off the debate. They were like, oh, well, that's all the time we have, you know, blah, blah, blah. They ended on his note, not hers. And that, in my opinion, is everything you need to know. Is everything you need to know. They've been giving her chances to rebuttal all night and to come back at Trump all night. That's fine. But this one topic, you were like, anyway, we're going to end now. Goodbye. Weird, 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 weird. In the words of the great Cecil, says Cecil is the best. Only a feminine man and stupid women votes in my What is that? What's the saying? If you're a Republican, if you're a Democrat, if you're a Republican before your 20s, you have no heart. But if you're a Republican after your 20s, I don't remember now. There's a saying that, God, I butchered it. I butchered it so bad. Anyway, some of you know what I'm talking about. Kamala really is just he asked that 2 times and she didn't bother. No, and they didn't make her reply either. That's what kills me is they did not make her reply. And she didn't answer the Putin question. That question was very direct. Have you had contact with Putin? Like, have you met with Putin to talk about this war and ending it? Have you met with Putin? And she was like, I met with the Zelensky 5 times. I've already told you that. And like, that wasn't the question. The question was with Putin. Rooting for Putin. That wasn't the question. The question was about Putin. There's photos of Trump shaking Putin's hand all over Europe, all over the freaking everywhere. And Kim Jong-un, however you say his name. I don't know. Where are yours? Anyway. That's it. America's thank you. If you're not a liberal by 20, you have no heart. If you're not a conservative by 40, you have no brain. Thank you. It's questionable. It's attributed to Winston Churchill, but it's questionable whether or not he said it. I didn't know that. I didn't know it was attributed to Winston Churchill. My dad says it all the time. I know, CJ, I butchered it. I can never remember it. If you're conservative in your 20s, you have no heart. If you are a liberal in your 30s, you have no brain. Yeah. Similar. Yeah. That's it. Something similar. It doesn't matter. Thank you. I'm like, I know. Anyway, well, that's the debate, guys. I can't wait to see the presidential one. I hope there's a vice presidential one, I mean, between Vance and Waltz. That'll be fun. We'll have to stream that one too. That's it. That's all the notes I got. I don't know. I'm sure I'll come up with stuff. Blame it on the wine. Yeah, no. I just have a hard time remembering stuff sometimes. But yeah. I'm sure I'll come up with stuff as I stimmer on this for the next day or so, and I'll tweet about it. But as of right now, that's it. That's all I got for you. I'm like, this is ridiculous. Don't answer. Swick says, didn't answer legitimate questions, but pushed Trump on so-called racial comments. Yeah, exactly. That she created. There's literal proof of her being like, I'm Indian. It's awesome. Which is fine. Why don't you own that? Whatever. Anyway. Jonathan Stevens says, October 1st, 2024, 9 p.m. for the vice presidential debate. Vance versus Waltz. Oh, damn. We're going to have to stream that one too. Y'all know I'm going to do it. This was fun. I'm almost just read the wine. It's the lighting. And I'm also kind of sunburnt. I'll admit it. I am. 9 p.m. Eastern. Yes. Sub to my channel, says Tyler. Yeah, Tyler does like wrestling stuff. WWE, AEW, AFP, whatever the wrestling things are nowadays. CJ says, good. Gave you a few days of material. Job accomplished. Thanks. That was a doozy, says Power Kick. Imagine what it would have been like if they had a live studio audience. You know what kills me is, at least from what I remember, all of the debates were, except for maybe the 2021s because of the beer bug and blah, blah, blah. But no, because that was 2019. So yeah, they all have audience sitting there. And they usually have audience questions that people submitted in via like a survey or something. They're not in person where you stick your hand up or whatever, but they will read civilian questions. That's crazy to me that they didn't do that this time. It's wild. 30 days before Halloween. Let's go. Let's go. Trump feeds off an audience. That's why they don't allow it. Yeah. Well, I mean, and Kamala can't handle an audience very well. So it's just, it is what it is. That was crazy. I am so happy you guys hung out with me, though. This was fun. We'll have to do the vice president debate, because why not? YOLO. F it. I'm sure Jeremy is still live, so I will send you guys over there. I don't have the link, but D-Day Cobra, whatever he's doing over there, I'm sure he's still live. But yeah, I think it was a wash in the end, says Greg, but Trump got them zingers, and he really did. I agree. He did get some zingers in. And the fact that they didn't let her, again, the fact that they didn't let her rebuttal the fact that he was like, why hasn't she done this in 3 years? That says a lot to me, but what do I know? We'll see. Swigs wants a presidential debate moderated by the Daily Wire. That would be hilarious. Oh my God. It's because they know the audience will speak up and make noise. That's fair. They do that. They do that. If you go back and watch presidential debates where the audience has been president, they'll go, ooh, that you can hear them. It's not usually very loud. It's not like watching Jimmy Kimmel or something, but yeah, So anyway, I'm going to sign off. Thank you all so much for hanging out with me through this interesting fiasco. Good Lord. Can't wait for the vice presidential debate. That'll be fun. That'll be interesting. Let me mod the debate, says Jonathan. Listen, put your application in. You never know. I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your evening. I think like DJ Cobra and all them are probably still live. Drinker, whoever, Gary, I don't know, whoever is still live. So go check them out if you would like. Otherwise, I'm going to go to bed. Hi, Cecil Say 77. I see you over there on Twitch. Thank you all so much for hanging in there with me. Godspeed on your voting decisions in November. And I will see you all tomorrow for Poor Choices and a gaming stream in the afternoon at 5 p.m. Central. Love you guys. Bye!